Chorus 2. Menglanju's words immediately received the approval of Starlight Sect S. Sidujan, Heavenly Yue Sects Wen Shujun and the others. Since the general end goal had been determined, what was left to decide was the details of action. Sidujan from the Starlight Sect suddenly took out a shining array disk from his body. He said to everyone, this array disk is called the Heavenly Star Formless Array. It can use the power of the stars to cover our tracks. However, it can only cover 4 at a time. One wonder if you have any treasures that can hide our figure and aura. Hearing this, Li Mingkong from the Heavenly Yue Sect immediately took out an array flag from his body. He said, this array flag is called the Inverted Lock Array Flag. It's suitable for the current situation. However, at this point a trace of embarrassment appeared on his face, but he continued. This array flag can only cover 5 people at a time. More than 5, and there will be a higher risk of being discovered. Such a treasure that could completely hide one's figure and aura was at least level 4. Clearly, it was not something common. Apart from the 2 treasures that Sidu Zhan and Li Mingkong took out, no one else present had anything similar. However, at this moment, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly spoke. One don't need such a treasure to hide my figure and aura. Huh? Everyone was stunned when they suddenly heard Jiang Chengxuan's words. Jiang Chengxuan did not explain much. Instead, he made a demonstration by using the divine power, the formless. In an instant, his figure disappeared bit by bit like it was wiped away by an eraser. In no time, he was completely gone. This left everyone dumbfounded. They used their divine senses to search around, but without exception, they could not find any trace of Jiang Chengxuan. Even his aura was gone. It was as if he had been completely erased from this world. What kind of divine power was this? It actually had such an extraordinary concealment ability. This thought flashed across everyone's minds. Then Jiang Chengxuan's figure appeared in front of everyone again. Seeing this, Hu Dongbai could not help but praise. I didn't expect fellow Taoist Jiang to have mastered such a concealment divine power. It's more than enough to escape detection from the cultivators of Zhang and Shu. The others also sighed, expressing that this divine power was extraordinary. It was something they had never seen in their lives. Next, the group discussed the details they had to pay attention to. In the end, they decided to see if there was a chance to focus on a few early-stage golden core cultivators and kill them first. If it didn't work out, they would consider meeting up with the Feng family. A moment later, Jiang Chengxuan and the others were already slowly approaching the battlefield. Naturally, the mission to investigate the cultivation level of the invaders fell on Jiang Chengxuan. After Jiang Chengxuan's investigation, they found 3 suitable targets. They were Xing Yangzi of the Guanglin sect, Fairy Zhu Yin of the Qingyu sect, and Tao Yuanshan of the Tao family. The 3 of them were only at the early-stage golden core. If they were to launch a surprise attack, there was a high chance that they could end their life on the spot. Especially when there was a late-stage golden core sword cultivator, Gu Yuefeng. Caught off guard by the attack that carried his full might, even late-stage golden core cultivators would be in danger. Against a mere early-stage golden core cultivator, as long as he was not discovered beforehand, he would definitely be able to kill him in one strike. At this moment, a group of cultivators from the Zhang and Shu nations were still attacking the Feng family's mountain-protecting array with all their might. After a day and night of attacks, the entire mountain-protecting array was already extremely dim. From the looks of it, it seemed like it would collapse at any moment. Seeing that success was around the corner, they were carried away by excitement and put all their attention on taking down the mountain-protecting array, so much so that they ignored their surroundings. In fact, unless a golden core cultivator was completely dialed in on his surroundings, he wouldn't be able to discover Hu Dongbai and the others who had concealed themselves. At most, he would notice some small movements, but it wouldn't be enough to alarm him. As a result, when Hu Dongbai, Zheng Pelong, and the others attacked, the golden core cultivators present were so dumbfounded that they had no clue what was going on. Shriek. In midair, a sword light tore open the protective dharmic power of Xing Yangzi. Then, under his stunned gaze, it pierced into his glabella and nailed him to the ground. The person who could slash out a sword light of such might in the blink of an eye was naturally Gu Yuefeng. After him, Hu Dongbai, Yao Yifeng, Li Mingkong, and Wen Shujun followed suit. The 4 of them attacked together. In an instant, all kinds of spells and divine powers landed on Fairy Zhu Yin. Immediately, the golden core female cultivator of the Qingyu sect, who was famous for her beauty, revealed a terrified expression. She subconsciously took out a defensive Dharma treasure. However, under the joint attack of the 4 golden core cultivators, the defensive Dharma treasure she took out was quickly sent flying. Then, 4 attacks of different types landed on her in 4 different directions. A beautiful golden core female cultivator died tragically on the spot. Tao Yuanshan did not escape death either. Under the joint attack of Zheng Pelong, Meng Lanju, Sidu Zhan, and Nangong Beijian, he quickly followed in the footsteps of the previous 2. It was only at this moment that the Zhang and Shu cultivators, who had been entirely invested in ripping apart the mountain-protecting array, which had proven to be a mistake, suddenly came back to their senses. Everyone was furious. In particular, Taoist Jing Su, who had just lost his fellow disciple, and the cultivators of the Guanglin sect and the Tao family were simply burning with rage. Without another word, these people immediately shifted their target to begin attacking Hu Dongbai, Zheng Pelong, and the others. Yu Yuansheng, Shang Yuan Yancheng, and the others had also realized at this point that they had been delayed for too long. Even though they were regretful, they could only change their target and start fighting with Hu Dongbai, Zheng Pelong, and the others. The intensity of the battle between golden core cultivators needed no further explanation. Moreover, this was a battle involving 20 golden core cultivators. Everywhere within a radius of 50 kilometers, one could feel the impact. Boom, boom, boom. Countless gorgeous and murderous lights intertwined in the air. Because they had Gu Yuefeng, a late-stage golden core sword cultivator, though outnumbered, they managed to fight to a draw with the level golden core cultivators from Zhang and Shu. Especially Gu Yuefeng. He alone had kept Gu Yuansheng, Dao being Jing Su, and Shang Yuan Yangsheng, 3 golden core cultivators at the 6th level, busy. The others had all found their equal opponent. However, there was one person who did not appear from the beginning to the end. Even during the surprise attack just now, he did not show up. This person was Jiang Chengxuan, who had used the formless. At this moment, he was observing the entire battlefield calmly, waiting for a perfect opportunity to launch an attack. Soon, he noticed that Shang Yuan Yancheng, who was fighting Wen Shujun, was the first to fall into a disadvantage. As time passed, Shang Yuan Yancheng's disadvantages became more and more obvious. However, both of them were mid-stage golden core cultivators. Shang Yuan Yancheng was weaker than Wen Shujun in terms of cultivation, Dharma treasures, and divine powers. However, in a fight between cultivators of this level, unless there was an absolute advantage in strength, it was relatively difficult to determine the winner in a short period of time. Jiang Chengxuan found this opportunity and quietly approached the battlefield where the 2 of them were. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Blades like large snowflakes danced, falling on the level 4 shield protecting Shang Yuan Yanchen and slowly dimming it. This caused Shang Yuan Yanchen to begin panicking. Just as he retreated, an invisible sword light suddenly appeared behind his head without him noticing. Jiang Chengxuan seized this opportunity while Shang Yuan Yancheng was retreating and gave him a fatal blow. Pub! There was a soft sound. The protective barrier formed by dharmic power around Shang Yuan Yancheng was instantly shattered by Jiang Chengxuan's golden void sword. This shocked Shang Yuan Yancheng. He had not expected that there would be a hidden golden core cultivator who managed to escape the detection of their divine senses. How come? Unfortunately, he no longer had the time to think about it. Under the full force of the golden void sword, it was impossible for Shang Yuan Yancheng to withstand it without his defensive Dharma treasures and protective dharmic power. The golden void sword pierced through the back of Shang Yuan Yancheng's head. Buzz! As soon as Shang Yuan Yancheng's body was destroyed, the golden core in his body flew out and wanted to escape into the distance. Unfortunately, before it could fly far, a gigantic hand formed by dharmic power slapped the golden core, annihilating it along with Shang Yuan Yancheng's primordial spirit. Yancheng 11. When Shang Yuan Yangsheng, who was fighting Gu Yuefeng, saw his brother die, his expression changed drastically. Absent-minded for a moment, his arm was almost cut off by Gu Yuefeng. He was in extreme grief. However, in this situation, no matter how much he hated Jiang Chengxuan and Wen Shujun, he was powerless to do anything. Could only continue to cooperate with Gu Yuansheng and Taoist Jing Su to fight Gu Yuefeng. At the same time, the Feng family members inside the mountain protecting array, as well as Duan Yidao, Ji Yunlin, and the others who were with them, could not help but be excited when they saw that reinforcements had arrived. Feng Jinan, Feng Zhixuan, Duan Yidao, and Ji Yunlin immediately decided to open the mountain protecting array and go out to help Jiang Chengxuan and the others. If they could take the opportunity to kill one or two golden core cultivators of their enemy, they would really have a considerable advantage in the following battle. The Feng family's mountain protecting array suddenly opened, and Feng Jinan, Feng Zhixuan, Duan Yidao, and Ji Yunlin slowly appeared. Guo Yuansheng, Daoist Jingsu, and Shang Yuanyangsheng, who were fighting Gu Yuefeng, knew that they had lost the possibility of destroying the Feng family. In fact, the advantage they had built up after destroying the Golden Sun sect was also lost in this battle. If this continued, some of the remaining 10 people might die. Therefore, Guo Yuansheng and the others made a prompt decision not to continue being entangled with Jiang Chengxuan and the others. Guo Yuansheng, Daoist Jingsu, Shang Yuanyangsheng, and the others activated a level 4 high-grade offensive talisman. In an instant, a terrifying fluctuation erupted. Taking this opportunity, they took out their flying treasure ships and quickly brought their disciples to escape into the distance. Seeing this, Nangong Beijing, Meng Lanju, Wen Shujun, and the others wanted to chase, but they were stopped by Zhang Belong. Everyone, do not pursue a desperate foe. Hearing this, Nangong Beijing and the others stopped in their tracks. Everyone quickly gathered together. After cleaning up the entire battlefield, they entered the Feng family with the 2 golden core ancestors of the Feng family. Fellow Taoists, thank you very much for this. As soon as they entered the Feng family, Feng Jinan and Feng Zhixuan bowed to everyone present with extremely solemn expressions. They knew very well that if it weren't for these people, the entire Feng family would definitely be exterminated by the cultivators of Zhang and Shu like the Golden Sun sect. Therefore, in terms of attitude, the 2 golden core ancestors of the Feng family were very sincere. At the same time, they also expressed that the Feng family would not take a single cent of the spoils of this battle. Soon, everyone opened the storage rings of Shangyu and Yancheng and the other 3 golden cores. Because Shangyu and Yancheng was killed by Jiang Chengxuan and Wen Shujun jointly, the 2 of them had the right to distribute the items among themselves. There were a total of 4 valuable things in Shangyu and Yancheng's storage ring. They were the 2 level 4 Dharma treasures he had used previously. An offensive Dharma treasure called the Rainbow Spear, and a defensive Dharma treasure called the Black Spirit Shield. The grade of the Rainbow Spear had reached mid-grade level 4. As for the Black Spirit Shield, it was only low-grade level 4. However, because this treasure was a defensive Dharma treasure, its value was not inferior to the Rainbow Spear. Apart from these 2 Dharma treasures, the remaining ones were a IO-grade level 4 spiritual herb and a mid-grade level 4 talisman. The low-grade level 4 spiritual herb was called flying yellow grass. It was the main material to refine the bright yellow pill, a low-grade level 4 spiritual pill. It was a spiritual pill that could help early-stage golden core cultivators increase their cultivation. Retreat 2. As for the mid-grade level 4 talisman, it was a soaring talisman. It could instantly double the speed of a golden core cultivator. If Shangyu and Yancheng used this talisman in time, he might have a chance to escape. It could be said that these 4 items were all very good. At this moment when Shujun said, "Fellow Taoist Jiang, the reason why we were able to kill Shangyu and Yancheng this time is mainly because of your surprise attack. Therefore, you can choose these 4 treasures first." Jiang Chengxuan didn't stand on ceremony. He nodded and chose the Black Spirit Shield. Right now, he was lacking a defensive Dharma treasure. Although he cultivated the infinite wheel and his defense far exceeded cultivators of the same level, it had yet to break through to level 4 and was still inferior to a true level 4 defensive Dharma treasure. On the other hand, Wen Shujun took the Rainbow Spear. After that, Wen Shujun let Jiang Chengxuan choose again. This time Jiang Chengxuan chose the flying yellow grass. The reason was very simple. He wanted to use this grass to refine a furnace of bright yellow pills. At that time, both he and Shen Ruyan would be able to increase their cultivation in a short period of time. Compared to that, the mid-grade level 4 soaring talisman was relatively useless to him. He had the blood eagle wings refined from the blood-striped eagle king's wings. Once this treasure was used, its flying speed would not be inferior to the soaring talisman. However, when Xujin did not know about this, when she saw Jiang Chengxuan take the flying yellow grass, she thought that Jiang Chengxuan was intentionally letting her obtain the better item. Because of this, her impression of Jiang Chengxuan improved. When everyone present had finished dividing the treasures, Hu Dambai said, "Everyone, should we continue to stay here or take the initiative to attack and take back the territory of the Golden Sun sect? Or should we strike back and attack the territory of Zheng and Shu? Everyone tell us what you think." Hearing his words, Li Mingkang of the Heavenly Yue sect was the first to speak. "It's definitely not wise to stay here for a long time. Not only will this put us in a passive situation, but it will also put our own family and sect in danger of being invaded. Once the cultivators of Zheng and Shu turn to attack our base, it will be very troublesome." I agree with fellow Taoist Li. Zheng Belong nodded in agreement. However, at the same time, if we let the cultivators of Zheng and Shu stay in the territory of Yan, it will continue to pose a great threat. Therefore, my suggestion is that, no matter what, we have to chase them out of the Yan nation first. I agree with fellow Taoist Zheng. Meng Lanju of the North Cloud sect expressed her stance. Wen Xujun, who came from the Heavenly Yue sect, also nodded. Then Sidu Zhan of the Starlight sect, Yao Yifeng of the Jade Water Sword Pavilion, Duan Yidao of the True Martial Heaven sect, Ji Yunlin of Mount Sheiyang sect, and Jiang Chengxuan all agreed with Zheng Belong. It was imperative to expel the cultivators of Zheng and Shu from the territory of the Yan nation. After reaching a consensus, they wasted no time and immediately headed to the area where the Golden Sun sect was. Although this decision was rushed and prompt, especially so since the two Golden Core ancestors of the Feng family, as well as Duan Yidao and Ji Yunlin, hadn't had time to recover, the cultivators of Zheng and Shu didn't have time to rest either. In comparison, their side still had the advantage. To ensure the success of their operation, they even prepared a level 4 array breaking bead. As long as the cultivators of Zheng and Shu dared to use the resources in the Golden Sun sect to set up a large array to resist, they would not hesitate to use the level 4 array breaking bead. Just as Jiang Chengxuan's group was rushing to the Golden Sun sect, the cultivators of the Zheng and Shu alliance led by Shangyu and Yangsheng also began to discuss their next plan. It had to be said that they had suffered a lot in the previous battle. They had lost 4 golden cores at one time, with one of them being a mid-stage golden core cultivator. And this would have happened if the Shangyuan family were willing to part with their level 4 array breaking bead. With the level 4 array breaking bead, the Feng family's mountain protecting array would have long crumbled, and they would have been counting their gains at this moment. Of course, there was no point in regretting now. The most important thing now was to figure out what to do as soon as possible. Should they leave or stay? I hate to admit it, but I have to say that our operation has fallen flat. At this moment, Taoist Jing Su from the Qingyu sect spoke in a low voice. There's not much point in staying here. Other than fighting to the death with the cultivators of the other 3 nations, one couldn't think of any other scenarios that might happen. In that case, we might as well return and reorganize before fighting the 3 nations head-on. I agree with fellow Taoist Jing Su. A beautiful middle-aged woman from the Heian sect nodded. It's indeed meaningless for us to continue staying here. Moreover, don't forget that we are in the hinterland of the Yan nation now. We don't have any advantage in terms of geography. Retreat 3. Now that we have less numbers, once we are under attack, I'm afraid we won't be able to last long. Her words caused the expressions of Shangyu and Yangsheng, and the other golden core cultivators from the Tao family, to turn extremely ugly. Obviously, the 2 of them didn't want to let this matter rest just like that, since they had lost their fellow disciple family member in that fight. However, Taoist Jing Su was the one who proposed a retreat. In terms of cultivation and qualification, they didn't have the right to suggest otherwise, not to mention the fact that retreat was a justified solution in the current situation. After the 2 of them calmed down and thought about it carefully, they had to admit that Taoist Jing Su and the middle-aged woman's words were indeed very reasonable. If they were to stay, the final outcome would probably not be good. On the contrary, after returning and reorganizing, there might be a chance of avenging their lost companion. Thinking of this, Shangyu and Yangsheng and the cultivator from the Tao family nodded somewhat reluctantly. Once the 2 of them agreed, the rest of the people present naturally would not have any objections. So, When Jiang Chengxuan and the others arrived at the entrance of the Golden Sun sect, they saw no one other than the broken mountain gate and the collapsed buildings. It seemed that the people from Zhang and Shu also knew that with their strength, it was impossible to defend the Golden Sun sect that occupied a large area. Soon, Jiang Chengxuan and the others entered the ruins. Looking at the scene in front of them, Jiang Chengxuan, Hu Dongbai, and Zheng Pelong had solemn expressions. This was because they all thought of the same thing. If they were to be the target of this surprise attack, they would probably end up like the Golden Sun sect. This was the cruelty of war. Even a powerful Golden Core sect would instantly turn to dust if they were not careful. At this moment, Li Mingkang of the Heavenly Moon sect said, "Everyone, what should we do next?" His words pulled Jiang Chengxuan and the others back to their senses. There was no one alive in the entire Golden Sun sect, except for a few people who were on a mission outside. All the treasures and cultivation techniques in the sect had been looted. It was not an exaggeration to say that other than a level 4 spiritual vein that was still intact, there was nothing valuable in this place. And this was definitely not because the people from Zhang and Shu were so kind as to leave behind the level 4 spiritual vein for the remaining disciples of the Golden Sun sect. The reason why they did not destroy it was not because they did not want to, but because they did not dare. They were afraid that after destroying such a level 4 spiritual vein, they would suffer a backlash. That was definitely not a joking matter. I think we should leave this place to fellow Taoist Feng, fellow Taoist Duan, and fellow Taoist Ji to manage it themselves. At this moment, Yao Yifeng from the Jade Water Sword Pavilion spoke. He was also the only old-looking cultivator among the 5 golden cores of the Jade Water Sword Pavilion. Upon hearing that, the 2 golden cores of the Feng family, Duan Yidao and Ji Yunlin, were immediately tempted. Refined pills. It was obvious that the 4 of them all wanted this level 4 spiritual vein. After all, a level 4 spiritual vein was hard to come by, and none of them wanted to let go of it. However, they also knew that it was unrealistic to get a level 4 spiritual vein without paying a price. As expected, Yao Yifeng continued, "Although one said that just now, I think the 4 of you should know the value of a level 4 spiritual vein very well. If you really want to obtain ownership of this spiritual vein, I'm afraid you have to promise every one of us something good in return." Hearing that, Feng Jinan, Feng Zixuan, Duan Yidao, and Ji Yunlin looked at each other. Then Feng Jinan said, "Fellow Taoist Yao, this is a big matter. Can you allow us to discuss it for a while?" Regarding this, Yao Yifeng and the others present naturally had no objections. Soon, the Feng brothers, Duan Yidao and Ji Yunlin, walked to the side and began to discuss it. After a while, the 4 of them returned to the crowd. Feng Jinan said, "Everyone, we've just discussed. We plan to use this level 4 spiritual vein to build a top level 3 market. At that time, we can hand over 50% of the annual profits of this market to the rest of you as dividends. What do you think?" Generally speaking, the annual profit of such a level 3 market that was built on a level 4 spiritual vein was at least hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones. 50% of the annual profit would amount to at least 100,000 spiritual stones a year. If it was distributed among the 6 sects, each sect would get at least 20,000 spiritual stones every year. Moreover, this was a consistent income that didn't require them to do anything. After a simple discussion, Jiang Chengxuan and the others agreed to Feng Jinan's suggestion. Of course, because the strength of the 6 sects was different, it was naturally impossible to split the profit equally. Instead, they would split the profit according to the strength of the 6 sects. The Jade Water Sword Pavilion and the Heavenly Yue sect were the strongest. Therefore, they could get 20% of the 50% profit. The remaining 30% would be divided equally between the Jiang family and the other 3 from the Yun nation. The Ganyang sect took most of it. Jiang Chengxuan, the Northern Cloud sect, and Starlight sect split the remaining share equally. However, even so, the spiritual stones that could flow into the Jiang family every year was at least 10,000. If the market was managed well, the number would be even greater. Next, Jiang Chengxuan and the others stayed in Yan Nation for a period of time. After they confirmed that the cultivators of Zhang and Shu had really returned, Jiang Chengxuan and the others did not plan to stay in Yan Nation any longer. However, because the overall strength of the Yan Nation was relatively weak now due to the annihilation of the Golden Sun sect, Yao Yifeng was asked to stay behind to help and would be rewarded accordingly by the three nations. A few days later, Yang Chengxuan returned to Liang Nation with Hu Dongbai and the others. At this moment, they all knew very well that after this matter, it was clearly impossible for another Golden Core battle of the same scale to erupt between the five nations. Unless there were special circumstances, the scale of the succeeding battles would most likely be limited to below the Golden Core realm. Otherwise, be it the Zhang and Shu alliance or the three-nation alliance, they would definitely not be able to take it if these intense confrontations happened a few more times. Even though it was inevitable that some of the forces in Zhang and Shu would feel a little indignant after losing their companions, there was nothing they could do. Moreover, for cultivators, cultivating the Tao was of paramount importance. Revenge, personal grudges, and so on were all secondary. If they wanted revenge, they would have plenty of opportunities in the future. There was no need to hold on to it and die because of it. That was really not worth it. As soon as Jiang Chengxuan returned to the Jiang family, he informed Shen Ruyan. Then he summoned the 3 violet palaces of the Jiang family and the 3 violet palaces of the Shen family. After everyone arrived at the Jiang family's meeting hall, Jiang Chengxuan told them what had happened. As they listened, a look of shock appeared on their faces. Clearly, they did not expect that the three-nation alliance actually managed to kill 4 golden cores from Zhang and Shu this time. This was definitely a huge blow to Zhang and Shu. It was no wonder that the cultivators of Zhang and Shu had been gradually retreating from the 100 Rivers Ridge. It should be related to this. Next, if nothing goes wrong, we golden core cultivators will not interfere casually. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan continued. In the future battles, we'll have to rely on Qi refinement, foundation establishment, and violet palace cultivators like you. Before one came back, I had already discussed it with the fellow Taoists of the Jade Water Sword Pavilion and the Heavenly Yun sect. Next, each of us will have to mobilize at least 4 violet palace cultivators, 30 foundation establishment realm cultivators, and hundreds of Qi refinement realm cultivators. As for the violet palace sects and families under us, you have to mobilize at least 1 to 2 violet palace cultivators, as well as a good number of foundation establishment and Qi refinement realm cultivators. At this point, the expressions of Jiang Reni, Shen Yuanlong, and the others present could not help but become a little solemn. They knew that they could no longer stay away from participating in the upcoming battles. Count me in. Shen Yuanlong was the first to volunteer. Hearing his words, Shen Daoming was stunned. However, before he could speak, Su Kaiyan smiled and said, "Since Brother Shen is willing to fight, how can I be a coward? Count me in." Seeing that 2 people from the Shen family had already taken the initiative to volunteer, Jiang Reni, Jiang Rendao, and the others from the Jiang family, naturally, did not want to be outdone and volunteered. Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other. After some discussion, the couple finally made a decision to send Jiang Rendao and Liu Linglong to represent the Jiang family and Shen Yuanlong, and Su Kaiyan to represent the Shen family. Other than Liu Linglong, the other 3 had many battle experiences. However, in comparison, Shen Yuanlong was better than Jiang Rendao and Su Kaiyan in terms of cultivation and experience. Therefore, the person in charge of leading the team this time was Shen Yuanlong. After choosing the Violet Palace candidates, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan let the rest of them decide who to bring among the foundation establishment and Qi refinement juniors. At this moment, the couple took out some protective treasures from their bodies and handed them to Shen Yuanlong and the others. When the couple returned to Xunaming Peak, Jiang Chengxuan took out the flying yellow grass and handed it to Shen Ruyan. "Ruyan, do you think we can use this flying yellow grass to refine a furnace of bright yellow pills?" Shen Ruyan took the flying yellow grass from Jiang Chengxuan and looked at it carefully. Then, she replied, "Refining the bright yellow pill requires many spiritual herbs above level 4. Just this flying yellow grass is probably not enough. Fortunately, we still have a few supplementary spiritual herbs. The only thing lacking is the level 4 supplementary spiritual plant, the springwood vine." "Springwood vine." Yang Chengxuan thought for a moment and said, "Then I'll ask Pavilion Master Hu and fellow Taoist when to see if they have this spiritual item. If there is, let's see if we can use the materials on the blood-striped Eagle King to exchange for it." With that, Jiang Chengxuan sent a message to Hu Dongbai, Wen Shujun, and the others. After receiving Jiang Chengshuan's message, Hu Dongbai, Wen Shujun, and the others quickly replied. Unfortunately, they did not have the spring wood vine in their hands. However, Wen Shujun from the Heavenly Yue sect gave Jiang Chengshuan a piece of useful news. As far as she knew, Taoist Hai Zhen, who was located in the Sea Break Valley, seemed to have such a spiritual item. However, if he wanted to exchange for the spring wood vine from Taoist Hai Zhen, he would have to pay a huge price. At the very least, it was probably impossible to use ordinary low-grade level for spiritual items to exchange for the spring wood vine. Jiang Chengshuan sent back a message, thanking Wen Shujun for providing him with this information. "How's it going?" Seeing Jiang Chengshuan put away the communication Jade talisman, Shen Ruyan asked. Jiang Chengshuan shook his head. "They don't have it. Fellow Taoist Wen said that Taoist Hai Zhen of Sea Break Valley should have it. One planned to go to Sea Break Valley personally to look for Taoist Hai Zhen and see if one can exchange for the spring wood vine from him." "Then I'll go with you," Shen Ruyan said. "We're not very familiar with Sea Break Valley. If we go together, we can take care of each other." Jiang Chengshuan did not refuse. Soon, the couple left Mount Mystic Tai together. A day later, the couple arrived at Sea Break Valley. That was Taoist Hai Zhen's territory. As soon as the two of them arrived, they sent a message. After a while, a Taoist in a Taoist robe appeared. It was Taoist Hai Zhen. When he saw Jiang Chengshuan and his wife, he immediately cupped his fists politely. "So it's fellow Taoists, Jiang and Shen. I wonder if there's anything you need from me." Hearing this, Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan did not beat about the bush. Jiang Chengshuan said, "I heard from Ice Fairy that you have a level 4 spring wood vine. It just so happens that we need this spiritual item now. I wonder if fellow Taoist Hai Zhen is willing to part with it." Huh? Hai Zhen obviously didn't expect Jiang Chengshuan to come for this reason. However, he quickly reacted and said with a smile, "So it was fellow Taoist Wen who introduced me to you. To be honest, I do have a spring wood vine in my hand now. If you really want it, one can give it to you, but you need to use a level 4 demon core to exchange for it." One heard that fellow Taoists, Jiang and Shen, had gone to the Yun Nation and cooperated with the 3 sects of the Yun Nation to take back the Myriad Wind Forest. "One believe you should have a level 4 demon core in your hands now, right?" Huh? Hearing Hai Zhen's words, Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan's expressions changed. This guy was really shameless. He actually had the cheeks to ask for a level 4 demon pill. The value of the two was not on the same level at all. Jiang Chengshuan shook his head decisively. "Fellow Taoist Hai Zhen, don't joke with us. One think you know very well the value of a level 4 demon core. It's impossible for us to use a level 4 demon core to exchange for a spring wood vine. Hai Zhen, you should think about it again." Hai Zhen clearly knew that he had asked for too much just now, but he did not want to give up on the level 4 demon core. He thought for a moment and said, "If the two of you feel that one spring wood vine is not enough, I can add spiritual stones. We can discuss how much. Why don't the two of you consider it carefully?" "There's no need to consider," Jiang Chengshuan rejected decisively. At their cultivation level, ordinary spiritual stones were not very useful to them, unless it was a high-grade spiritual stone. However, Taoist Hai Zhen most likely wouldn't have such a thing. Even if there was, he probably wouldn't be willing to give it to them. In addition, the fact that he was trying to take advantage of Jiang Chengshuan had already left a bad impression on Jiang Chengshuan. Therefore, he became less polite. He took out some materials from his storage ring that were removed from the blood-striped Eagle King. For example, sharp claws, feathers, bones, flesh, and so on. Seeing these things, a glint flashed across Hai Zhen's eyes. He seemed to have realized that his actions just now had already made Jiang Chengshuan and his wife displeased. Therefore, he did not ask for the level 4 demon core anymore. Instead, he pointed at the pair of sharp claws of the blood-striped Eagle King and said, "I'm willing to trade for these level 4 claws. What do you think?" Jiang Chengshuan took a look at the claws and nodded. "Sure, but you have to add another 30,000 spiritual stones." It was obvious that the sharp claws were more valuable than the spring wood vine. Hai Zhen did not even try to bargain. He took out a green vine with countless patterns on its surface and 30,000 spiritual stones before handing it to Jiang Chengshuan. After receiving the item from Hai Zhen, Jiang Chengshuan pushed the sharp claws to Hai Zhen. After the deal was completed, Taoist Haizhen smiled and said, "It's rare for the two of you to visit my place. Why don't you come in with me for a cup of tea?" However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan shook their heads. Jiang Chengxuan said, "We appreciate fellow Taoist Haizhen's kindness. However, we still have very important things to do next, so I'm afraid we can't stay long this time. If there is a chance, we'll pay you another visit in the future." After Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan cupped their fists and bowed to him, the two of them did not stay any longer. They flew back to Mount Mystic Tai. Looking at the departing backs of Jiang Chengxuan and his wife, a disciple beside Haizhen said, "Shefu, should we?" As he spoke, he made a throat-cutting gesture. Taoist Haizhen was a little tempted, but in the end he shook his head. If they agreed to enter the valley, we might be able to do it. But now, Haizhen did not say the rest, but the disciple beside him already understood. He couldn't help but say with indignation, "Shifu, is there really no other way?" Haizhen sighed and said, "Yumpeng, one know how you feel. It's not easy for you to see something that can help you form the core. It's inevitable that one can't let it go. However, you have to understand that the most important thing for us cultivators is to know our limits. Not everyone can get their hands on anything they want. If we are not careful, we will bring disaster to ourselves." Hearing his Shifu's words, although Yumpeng was still a little unwilling, he did not talk back. Instead, he nodded respectfully. At the same time, after Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan returned to Mount Mystic Tai, they entered Jiang Chengxuan's cave abode together. "Husband, do you also feel that Taoist Haizhen actually had some murderous thoughts on you and me just now?" Shen Ruyan suddenly looked at Jiang Chengxuan. Jiang Chengxuan nodded and said, "That's right. This person is not as kind as he looks on the surface. If possible, we should try our best to avoid him in the future." As he spoke, Jiang Chengxuan took out the spring wood vine he had just obtained. Then he took out the flying yellow grass and some other supplementary materials to refine the bright yellow pill. "Madam, you'll be in charge of refining pills this time. 111 assist you." Although he really wanted to refine the bright yellow pill himself, Jiang Chengxuan knew that with his current alchemy skills, the probability of success was probably less than 30%. Once failed, it would be impossible for him to gather a full set of materials for the bright yellow pill in a short period of time. Therefore, to be safe, Jiang Chengxuan decided to let Shen Ruyan do it. Naturally, Shen Ruyan had no objections. However, just as she was about to take out the pill furnace and start heating it up, Jiang Chengxuan stopped her. Then Jiang Chengxuan took out the pill ascension furnace and said with a smile, "For this batch of pills, use my pill furnace. This way, the number of pills will probably increase." This was not the first time Shen Ruyan had used Jiang Chengxuan's pill ascension furnace. Back then, when she used a level 4 demon core to refine the core formation pills, she used this pill furnace. Knowing what it was capable of, she immediately smiled and nodded. "All right, 111 use this pill furnace to refine pills. We might really have a surprise result." As she spoke, Shen Ruyan had already started the coal seam fire to heat up the furnace. Refining pills above level 4 took longer than level 3. Just the step of extracting and purifying the medicinal liquid took at least half a year. Not to mention the process of condensing and nurturing pills. Even though Shen Ruyan's alchemy was far better than ordinary level 4, and she was using the pill ascension furnace, by the time she successfully refined the bright yellow pills, a year had passed. At this moment, inside the furnace, 5 bright yellow pills were floating quietly. A dense pill fragrance continuously wafted out. Shen Ruyan found the right time and used a spell to collect the pills. There was a clang. The lid of the ascending pill furnace opened. 5 bright yellow pills flew out of the furnace and were put into the jade bottle that Shen Ruyan had prepared in advance. When Jiang Chengxuan saw this, he immediately said happily, "You actually refined 5 bright yellow pills in one go. Wife, your alchemy skill is getting better." In his mind, if they could refine 3 bright yellow pills this time, he would be satisfied. If there were 4, he would thank God. 5 was simple out of his imagination. Shen Ruyan was clearly very satisfied with the result too. She smiled at Jiang Chengxuan and said, "Speaking of which, it's all thanks to your pill ascension furnace. Without it, I think that the best result is 4 bright yellow pills at most." Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan shook his head. "Wife, you're too humble. No matter how good the pill ascension furnace is, It's useless without your extraordinary alchemy skill. At this point, Jiang Chengshuan suddenly changed the topic. No matter what, now that you and I have these 5 bright yellow pills, we should be able to break through to the 3rd level of the Golden Core Realm. Shen Ruyan had already reached the 2nd level of the Golden Core Realm like Jiang Chengshuan. Now that the couple had bright yellow pills, it would probably not be long before they broke through again. Shen Ruyan nodded in agreement. She immediately took 2 of the 5 bright yellow pills and returned to her cave, abode to begin her seclusion to break through. It was the same for Jiang Chengshuan. According to their situation, the probability of successfully breaking through was about 50% after taking 1 bright yellow pill. If they consumed 2, the probability would reach 70 to 80%. There would basically be no problem. If everything went without a hitch, they should still have 1 or 2 bright yellow pills left. At this moment, Jiang Chengshuan had already adjusted his state to the peak. Without any hesitation, he took out a bright yellow pill and swallowed it. As soon as the pill was consumed by Jiang Chengshuan, the entire pill turned into pure dharmic power and began to flow through his meridians. Jiang Chengshuan immediately began to circulate the 5 elements true technique and guided this dharmic power into his danshan. Slowly, the dharmic power accumulated in Jiang Chengshuan's body became thicker and thicker. However, he seemed to be a little short of breaking through to the 3rd level of the Golden Core Realm. Without hesitation, he took out another bright yellow pill and swallowed it. Boom! This time, as soon as he took the pill, Jiang Chengshuan immediately felt the dharmic power in his body surge. In just a moment, his cultivation was on the verge of a breakthrough. 3 months later, Jiang Chengshuan, who was cultivating with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. At this moment, his cultivation had successfully broken through to the 3rd level of the Golden Core Realm. The dharmic power in his body had increased by more than 30% compared to before. Compared to some late-stage Golden Core cultivators with ordinary Golden Cores, his dharmic power was actually more superior. Right on the heels of Jiang Chengshuan's breakthrough, Jiang Rendao, Shen Yuanlong, and the others who were far away at the front line sent back a piece of good news. Not long ago, they had successfully occupied a resource point in the Zheng Nation with the cultivators of the Jade Water Sword Pavilion. It was a medium-sized purple copper mine. Metal-like purple copper was the main supplementary material for refining level 1 and level 2 array discs. At the same time, it was also the main material for refining various metal element Dharma artifacts. Shen Yuanlong had already got someone to count it. The value of the medium-sized purple copper mine they occupied was at least millions of spiritual stones. If they mined it well, the final value would probably be even greater. In this battle, the Jiang family and the Jade Water Sword Pavilion had also killed 3 Violet Palace cultivators from the Zheng Nation. 2 of them were from the Shangyuan family. One of them was Shangyuan Sheng, who had chased after Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan but was nearly killed by them. As the son of Shangyuan Yanghao, the head of the Shangyuan family, his death on the battlefield naturally infuriated the entire Shangyuan family. Shangyuan Maofeng, who was also at the Violet Palace realm, suddenly stood up and looked up at Shangyuan Yanghao. Second uncle, I'm willing to lead the cultivators of the Shangyuan family to the front line to avenge brother Sheng and the clansmen who died at the hands of the Jiang family and the Jade Water Sword Pavilion. Hearing his words, the other 2 golden cores of the Shangyuan family, Shangyuan Yangsheng and Shangyuan Yangcheng, nodded in approval. Shangyuan Yanghao also nodded slightly at Shangyuan Maofeng. Just as he was about to give the order, a message suddenly came to him and the other 2 golden cores of the Shangyuan family. When the 3 of them finished reading the message, their expressions turned extremely ugly. Shangyuan Yanghao crushed the communication jade talisman in his hand and suddenly said coldly, "The primordial Yang Valley has ruined my plan." It turned out that just now, the primordial Yang Valley, the most powerful force in the Zheng Nation, suddenly sent a message to the Shangyuan family and the other 2 golden core sects. The message said that considering the current situation, if they continued to fight like this, other than unnecessary deaths, none of them would get anything out of it. Therefore, the primordial Yang Valley proposed to negotiate a truce with the 3 nations. This reason was obviously just a lie. In fact, according to the primordial Yang Valley's way of doing things, as long as there was profit, they would not care so much, let alone have such a noble awareness. Now that they suddenly made such a suggestion and decision, there must be a reason others did not know. Unfortunately, the primordial Yang Valley did not intend to tell them the real reason. Most importantly, the suggestion of the primordial Yang Valley had already been approved by the Guanglin sect and Qingyu sect. Even the Shu nation expressed their intention to stop the war when they learned that primordial Yang Valley thought alike. Only the Shangyuan family was kept in the dark and was the last to receive the news, although they also knew that prolonging the war was pointless. In fact, from the moment the Zheng and Shu alliance failed to attack the Yan nation, this operation had been declared a failure. However, even so, Shangyuan Yanghao and the others still found it difficult to accept the fact that they were the last to receive this news. Are they looking down on us because the Shangyuan family is no longer as strong as before? Shangyuan Yangsheng said with a dark expression. The attitude of the primordial Yang Valley towards the Shangyuan family was one of the main reasons why he, Shangyuan Yanghao, and Shangyuan Yangcheng looked so exasperated. What should we do, brother? Should we agree to their suggestion? Shangyuan Yangcheng turned to look at Shangyuan Yanghao. Shangyuan Yangsheng and the others subconsciously looked at the Shangyuan Yanghao. Although his cultivation was at the 6th level of the Golden Core realm like Shangyuan Yangsheng, his knowledge, foresight, and overall vision were not something Shangyuan Yangsheng and Shangyuan Yangcheng, who was only at the 3rd level of the Golden Core realm, could compare to. At this moment, seeing that everyone was looking at him, Shangyuan Yanghao immediately sighed and said helplessly, "The Guanglin sect and the Qingyu sect have already agreed to the suggestion. If I'm not wrong, it won't be long before the 3 Golden Core forces of the Shu nation agree to stop fighting. At this moment, even if you and I say otherwise, what's the use?" As soon as he finished speaking, the rest fell silent. After a while, Shangyuan Yanghao continued, "Yangsheng, send a message to the primordial Yang Valley later. Tell them that the Shangyuan family agrees to their suggestion. As for how to negotiate with the Liang, Yun, and Yan nations, as well as the time and place, just let them decide." Shangyuan Yangsheng opened his mouth, but in the end, he nodded with resignation. "Yes, brother." 2 months later, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan officially came out of seclusion. Just like Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan had also broken through to the 3rd level of the Golden Core realm. Moreover, she had only taken 1 bright yellow pill during this process. Currently, the couple still had 2 bright yellow pills left. If there was a chance in the future, these 2 bright yellow pills might allow them to exchange for the treasures they wanted. Soon, the couple called the head of the family, Jiang Reni, over. From him, they learned about the battle situation between the 5 nations and the situation of their family at the front line. Just as Jiang Reni was about to continue talking to the 2 ancestors, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan suddenly received a message from the Jade Water Sword Pavilion. The message said that there was something very important and that they wanted the 2 of them to go over at once. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan didn't dare to neglect the Jade Water Sword Pavilion's message. The last message was about the horrible incident in the Yan nation. They did not know what it was about this time. The couple briefly explained the situation to Jiang Reni. Then they quickly rushed to the Jade Water Sword Pavilion. Just like last time, when Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan arrived at the meeting hall of the Jade Water Sword Pavilion, they realized that there were already many people sitting there. Most of them were acquaintances. Pavilion Master Hu Dongbai, Supreme Elder Gu Yuefeng and Elder Flowing Fire, as well as Wen Shujun and Li Mingkong from the Heavenly Yue sect. In addition to these acquaintances, there were also 2 strangers. After Hu Dongbai's introduction, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan learned that the 2 strangers were another Supreme Elder of the Jade Water Sword Pavilion, Qin Minglin. She was at the 3rd level of the Golden Core realm and was the only female cultivator among the 5 Supreme Elders of the Jade Water Sword Pavilion. There was also a scholarly-looking middle-aged man. It was Yu Heiji of the Heavenly Yue sect. The Tao companion of one of his disciples was the disciple of an elder of the Inferno sect who died at the hands of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. In the past, she wanted to persuade her husband to ask his Shifu to help take revenge on Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. However, it did not work out. After Jiang Chengxuan's outstanding contribution in the battle spread, Yu Heiji even asked someone to bring him a message, saying that he hoped that there would not be any unnecessary misunderstandings between them. The couple also expressed that they wouldn't take it to heart. At this moment, when the two sides met, Yu Heiji indeed displayed a rather friendly attitude. He said, "I've long heard that fellow Taoist Jiang and Fairy Shen are extraordinarily talented. I've always wanted to get to know the two of you, but one never had the chance. Today, one finally got to see your true faces." As he spoke, Yu Heiji stood up and cupped his fists at the couple with a smile. Seeing this, Zhang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan immediately smiled and cupped their fists in return. Fellow Taoist Yu is too polite. Then the couple greeted the other acquaintances present. After exchanging pleasantries, Hu Dongbei, who was in charge of hosting this meeting, looked at everyone present and said seriously, "Everyone, the main reason why I've gathered you here today is because of the war." Everyone, including Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, was stunned upon hearing this. They knew that the war had been going on for many years. Be it the Zheng and Shu alliance or the Three-Nation alliance, they had suffered varying degrees of losses. Did Hu Dongbai's sudden mention of this mean that something had happened that they did not know about? As expected, Hu Dongbei continued, "To be honest, not long ago, I received a message from the primordial Yang Valley of the Zheng Nation and the Cayenne Fa sect of the Shu Nation. On behalf of their respective nations, they expressed that they wanted to sign a truce agreement with us." What? Hearing Hu Dongbai's words, apart from the people from the Jade Water Sword Pavilion, Jiang Chengxuan, his wife, and the three people from the Heavenly Yue sect were all surprised. They did not expect the Zheng and Shu alliance to take the initiative to request for a truce. This was really a rare thing. One had to know that in the past, the Zheng and Shu had always bullied the other three nations whenever there was a chance. They were domineering and tyrannical. But now, they actually took the initiative to ask for a truce. Wasn't this equivalent to admitting defeat? Could it be they did this because they realized that, after losing 4 golden cores, they weren't much superior in terms of overall strength than other three nations? In theory, this explanation seemed to make sense, but on closer look, this did not seem like their style of doing things. There must be something that they did not know. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and the 3 golden cores of the Heavenly Yue sect all revealed suspicious expressions. Li Mingkong of the Heavenly Yue sect said, "Pavilion Master Hu, is what you said true? Could this be another plot or scheme by Zheng and Shu?" As soon as Li Mingkong finished asking, all the gazes turned to Hu Dongbei. Hu Dongbei replied, "It's unlikely to be a scheme because they have already clearly stated in the message that they will sign a blood oath contract to end this war." Hearing Hu Dongbai's words, Jiang Chengxuan and the others finally believe it. Since the other party was willing to sign a blood oath contract, the probability of them violating it was minimal. However, at the same time, something dawned on Jiang Chengxuan and the 3 people from the Heavenly Yue sect. The truce agreement mentioned was only applicable to the alliance of 2 sides, but it didn't specifically prohibit confrontations between individuals or sects. This meant that, as long as a war of this scale did not break out between the 2 sides, it would not be considered a violation of the contract, even if 2 golden core sects engaged in a fight. At the thought of this, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly said, "Pavilion Master Hu, do you know why they stopped this war with us? One don't believe that with the style of these 2 nations, they can take that matter lying down." What Jiang Chengxuan was referring to was naturally about the fact that they had killed 4 golden cores of the Zheng and Shu alliance. This question was also what everyone present wanted to know. However, Hu Dongbei shook his head this time. "Fellow Taoist Jiang, the question you brought up is actually what one can't figure out and feel puzzled about the most. However, for the time being, we are destined to not get an answer. We can only send people to investigate it afterwards. The most important thing now is to figure out what to do next. What do you think about their proposal to end the war? Do you think we should agree to it?" What Hu Dongbei said was right. Instead of focusing all their attention on a question they couldn't figure out, they might as well seriously consider whether they should really agree to the truce. Yu Heiji was the first to express his opinion. He said, "If both sides can sign a blood contract, one think we can agree to this. After all, with our strength, if we continue to fight like this, other than wasting each other's resources unnecessarily, there won't be much of a result." His point of view was quickly supported by Li Mingkong and Wen Shujun. Obviously, they were also tired of this meaningless war. After all, what they wanted back then was to show their uncompromising attitude. Now that they had achieved this goal, If they continued to expend resources like this, it would obviously not be worth it. Gu Yuefeng, Elder Flowing Fire, and the rest agreed with Yu Heiji. Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were the same, although they felt that there might be more to this matter that they did not know. However, just as Hu Dongbai had said, it was not easy to find out the real reason behind it. The most important thing now was to end this war as soon as possible. Since everyone agreed unanimously, this matter is decided. Hu Dongbai looked at everyone and said, according to the message they sent, if we agree to a truce, we can go to the border of our two sides in 5 days to sign a blood oath contract. 5 days later, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, together with the Jade Water Sword Pavilion, the Heavenly Yue sect, and the Golden Core cultivators of the Yun and Yan nations, signed a truce agreement with the Golden Core cultivators of the Zhang and Shu alliance. From then on, the war between the 5 nations that had lasted for several years temporarily came to an end. On the way back, Hu Dongbai sent a voice transmission to Jiang Chengxuan and his wife to remind them to be careful of the cultivators from Zhang and Shu in the future, especially the Shangyuan family. Whether it was the grudge between the two families or the fact that Jiang Chengxuan killed Shangyuan Yancheng at the beginning of the war, it was enough for the Shangyuan family to hate the Jiang family to the core. They might be lurking in the dark and finding every opportunity to destroy the Jiang family. This was not within the terms of the blood oath contract. Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan both said that they would pay attention. After the couple returned to Mount Mystic Tai, the family head Jiang Reni immediately looked for them. He came to ask about the results. Jiang Chengxuan said, Yiren, you can inform Rendao and my 5th granduncle to come back. Huh? Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, Jiang Reni's heart skipped a beat. He looked up at Jiang Chengxuan. Jiang Chengxuan nodded and said, the contract has been signed. Before the next demon beast riot arrives, both sides are not allowed to declare a war. Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, Jiang Reni heaved a sigh of relief. However, we can't leave the purple copper mine unguarded. Jiang Chengxuan continued, let Elder Su stay there for the time being until we find a suitable person to replace him. Jiang Reni naturally had no objections to Jiang Chengxuan's arrangements. He immediately nodded. After a while, a hint of hesitation appeared on his face. Jiang Chengxuan noticed it and immediately asked, what's wrong, Reni? What's the matter? Jiang Reni hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he still said to Jiang Chengxuan, Granduncle, one heard that there are many spiritual items in our family's treasury vault that can be used to help one advance to the Violet Palace. Jiang Chengxuan raised his eyebrows slightly and said with a faint smile, why? Did they come to ask you for that? Jiang Reni smiled bitterly and nodded. I really can't hide anything from you, granduncle. Not long ago, my second brother, Renchuan, Shen Beifei and Shen Rushwang from the Shen family came to look for me and asked if they could get the spiritual item to advance to the Violet Palace. Especially the 2 from the Shen family. I think they don't have much lifespan left. I'm afraid it will be difficult for them to accumulate enough contribution points. Is that so? Jiang Chengxuan turned to look at Shen Ruyan and said to Jiang Reni with a smile. You're right. There are indeed many spiritual items in our family vault that can be used to advance to the Violet Palace. There are 2 Violet Palace Jades and 5 Purple Heaven pills. In addition, there are also some 5 element crystals and purple true pills. Violet Palace Jade can increase the probability of a cultivator breaking through to the Violet Palace by 30%. Purple Heaven Pill can help cultivators increase the probability of breaking through to the Violet Palace by 40% and protect their meridians and bodies so that they won't die due to failure. Purple True Pill could help cultivators protect their Tao heart and soul when they failed to break through to the Violet Palace. So many. Jiang Reni was shocked. If the things Jiang Chengxuan said were used well, the Jiang family would see an increase in the number of Violet Palace cultivators very soon. This could greatly boost the overall strength and foundation of the Jiang family. Moreover, if they could have a few more Violet Palace cultivators, they would not be so short of manpower. One had to know that as a Golden Core family, the Jiang family had many industries scattered across the entire Liang nation. Many of these industries had to be guarded by Violet Palace cultivators. But that was the problem. Even with the 3 additional Violet Palace cultivators from the Shen family, the number of Violet Palace cultivators in the Jiang family was still far from enough. Thinking of this, Jiang Reni couldn't help but ask, "Then, granduncle, can we?" However, before Jiang Reni could finish speaking, Jiang Chengxuan shook his head with certainty. "Reni, you should know that the continuation of a family or a sect relies on its rigid adherence to the system. Only by following the system and the rules within can a family or sect gradually grow stronger and be cohesive. If we, the leaders, are the first to violate the system we set ourselves, think about what will happen in the future." Jiang Reni felt ashamed. Indeed, Jiang Chengxuan was right. If they took the lead to violate the family system and rules, then the people below would naturally follow. As time passed, the system and rules would hold no power. Just as these thoughts flashed through Jiang Reni's mind, he heard Jiang Chengxuan say, "However, there are exceptions to everything. As the saying goes, rules are dead but humans are alive. There is a solution to this matter without breaking the rules." Jiang Reni was stunned when he suddenly heard that. However, before he could ask, Jiang Chengxuan continued, "Go back and ask Renchuan and the other two how many contribution points they lack in order to exchange for the spiritual items they need. If they lack by a big margin, your grandaunt and I can lend it to them to make up for the deficit." Jiang Reni really did not expect that Jiang Chengxuan's idea was to lend them contribution points. This way, the family rules would not be violated. Not only could they maintain the system, but they could also help those in need. It could be said to be killing two birds with one stone. The only problem was that not everyone had such a privilege. In the entire Jiang and Shen families, those who could borrow contribution points from Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were very few. Not to mention borrowing contribution points from Jiang Chengxuan and the others, most of them didn't even have a chance to see Jiang Chengxuan in person. Perhaps someone would say that it was unfair that Jiang Chengxuan did this. However, in this world, absolute fairness was non-existent. People had the tendency to help their closest relatives. Would Jiang Chengxuan turn down his relative and help someone he barely knew instead? That would probably be the most unfair thing, right? If someone urgently needed to borrow contribution points, they could totally look for someone they were close to. By the way, at this moment, Jiang Chengxuan seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Where's Anren? How has she been recently?" At the mention of Jiang Anren, a smile appeared on Jiang Reni's face. "Little Aunt has been staying with me recently. She's been doing well and is very hardworking in her cultivation. Her current cultivation is at the 5th level of qi refinement." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had already taken Jiang Anren in as their personal disciple. Therefore, in terms of seniority, she was a generation higher than Jiang Reni and the others. Come to think of it, it had been about 10 years since they brought Jiang Anren back that day. In the past 10 years or so, although Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were very busy, they had put in a lot of effort in teaching the little girl. When the two of them heard Jiang Reni's words, a smile appeared on their faces. Not bad. It seems that the little girl has not slacked off in her cultivation during this period of time. To be able to reach the 5th level of qi refinement at this age, she's indeed worthy of her heavenly spiritual root. At this point, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other. Then, Shen Ruyan said, "Reni, bring Anren to us later. From today onwards, my husband and one will teach her personally and try our best to strengthen her foundation." Hearing Shen Ruyan's words, Jiang Reni immediately agreed. At the same time, he was envious. Although Jiang Anren's background was pitiful, and she lost her parents as soon as she was born, she was fortunate to have Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's nurturing. If not for Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, she would have been possessed. As the saying went, one would definitely have good fortune after surviving a calamity. Everyone could see how well Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had treated Jiang Anren all these years. It was not an exaggeration to say that they treated her almost like their own daughter. A moment later, a cute little girl with a bun appeared in front of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. It was Jiang Anren. As soon as she appeared, she shouted happily, "Shifu, you're back." As she spoke, Jiang Anren had already pounced into Shen Ruyan's arms. The three of them talked to each other for a while. In the end, Shen Ruyan smiled and said to Jiang Anren, "Anren, from today onwards, you can stay with us. After you successfully reach the foundation establishment, you can return to your own place." Hearing Shen Ruyan's words, the little girl was obviously very happy. She nodded heavily. "Yay, one can see you every day." Just like that, Jiang Anren stayed on Chunaming Peak. This stay lasted for a full 10 years. In the past 10 years, Jiang Anren had truly displayed her cultivation talent as a heaven spiritual root. In the first 5 years, Jiang Anren's cultivation broke through from the 5th level to the 9th level of qi refinement. This was the result of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan deliberately suppressing her cultivation and letting her take time to polish her true essence. A year later, Jiang Anren did not rely on any external help to successfully reach the foundation establishment. For the next 4 years, Jiang Anren continued to cultivate step by step under the personal guidance of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, 2 golden cores. At this moment, Jiang Anren's cultivation level had already reached the 3rd level of the foundation establishment. Moreover, her foundation was incomparably solid. Such speed was considered extraordinary even in those nascent soul families. In addition to Jiang Anren, in the past 10 years, the Jiang family had 3 new Violet Palace cultivators. They were Jiang Renquan, Shen Beifei, and Shen Rushuang. Among them, Jiang Renquan and Shen Beifei only took 1 purple heaven pill to successfully break through to the Violet Palace. Only Shen Rushuang successfully advanced to the Violet Palace after using a purple heaven pill and a Violet Palace Jade. To be honest, this was kind of a waste of resources. In her early years, Shen Rushuang lacked actual combat experience in the cultivation world, and her cultivation foundation was not especially strong. If there were no special opportunities in the future, the Violet Palace should be the furthest she could go. However, she was closer to Shen Ruyan and Jiang Chengxuan, especially to Shen Ruyan. As cousins, as long as Shen Ruyan could help, she would do her best. Then there was Jiang Rendel's son, Jiang Yuncheng, and Jiang Renquan's daughter, Jiang Yunru. In the past 10 years, their cultivation levels had also improved greatly. They both reached the late-stage foundation establishment, especially Jiang Yuncheng, who had reached the 8th level of the foundation establishment and had a strong foundation. If nothing unexpected happened, he should have the highest chance of advancing to the Violet Palace in the next 10 to 20 years. Shifu, can one really go down the mountain? On Chunaming Peak, Jiang Anren, who had grown into a pretty young girl, couldn't help but look at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan in surprise. Just now, the couple had agreed to Jiang Anren's request to leave the mountain and travel for a while. Jiang Chengxuan smiled and nodded. That's right. Since you want to travel to gather experiences, we naturally won't stop you. It's indeed not a good thing to stay on the mountain and cultivate all the time. It's about time to go to the outside world and take a look. Shen Ruyan smiled and nodded. That's right, go wherever you want. However, there is a premise. You can't leave the Liang Nation. Also, the most important thing is that the outside world is different from matter what you do. You have to be careful. Yes, don't worry, I'll keep that in mind. Jiang Anren nodded hurriedly. Jiang Chengxuan smiled and said, before you go out, you can take a look and see if there are any missions that are suitable for you. Try to get some to do. It can more or less train your ability to deal with things. Understood, Shifu. Jiang Anren nodded again. Then one will take my leave first. Go, remember to be careful. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded. Jiang Anren no longer hesitated. She walked up to the couple and knelt down in front of them with an extremely solemn expression. After kowtowing to them a few times, she flew away and quickly left Chunaming Peak. After Jiang Anren's figure disappeared, Shen Ruyan couldn't help but turn around with a smile and look at Jiang Chengxuan. I hope Anren can gain something from this trip, especially in terms of temperament. We've protected her too well since she was young. At this point, Shen Ruyan paused for a moment before continuing. If I'm not wrong, you must have left many backup plans to protect her, right? Aren't you the same? Jiang Chengxuan asked with a smile. As the first disciple of the couple, and the kind that they had nurtured since she was young, the feelings the two of them invested in Jiang Anren were unquestionably great. Therefore, they naturally had to keep Jiang Anren safe. However, the two of them did not tell Jiang Anren about this. It was even more impossible for Jiang Anren to notice anything. Brother Jiang, Sister Shen, has Anren left? At this moment, a streak of light suddenly flew over from afar. When the light dissipated, Huang Linger's graceful figure was revealed. At this moment, she looked at the two of them and asked in surprise. Ever since she was brought to the Jiang family by the couple, Huang Linger quickly adapted to the new life and was especially close to Jiang Anren. Every once in a while, Huang Linger would bring a lot of delicious food to see Jiang Anren. As time passed, they developed a very deep relationship. When the couple heard that, they immediately smiled and nodded. Yes, she just left not long ago. If I'm not wrong, she should have gone to your place first. Unfortunately, you came to our place. Aya, how unlucky. Huang Linger stomped her feet when she heard that. No, I have to go back quickly and see her one last time before she leaves. Huang Linger was about to leave when Shen Ruyan stopped her. Linger, wait a moment. Huh? Huang Linger turned around in confusion. Shen Ruyan said, your brother Jiang and I are going on a long trip today and will be away for quite a long time. During this period, if there is anything important, you can look for my fifth granduncle or Jiang Reni or Linglong. Huh, Sister Shen, are you and brother Jiang going out too? Hearing Shen Ruyan's words, Huang Linger was stunned. Yes. Shen Ruyan nodded. You also know that at this realm, it's already very difficult for your brother Jiang and I to find what we want in the territory of Kangnan region. Therefore, we decided to go to the state of Yu to take a look. It's said that the myriad treasure meet, held there every 50 years, will begin in half a year. It just so happened that it'll take about half a year for us to get there. If we set off now, when we get there, we can participate in the myriad treasure meet in time. You're going to the state of Yu for the myriad treasure meet. Huang Linger's expression changed slightly. She knew how far it was to go from Liang Nation to the myriad treasure immortal city in the state of Yu. Just now, Shen Ruyan said that it would take them about half a year to get there. One had to know that that was the speed of a golden core cultivator. If it was a violet palace cultivator, it would very likely take more than a year. As for foundation establishment and chi refinement cultivators, there was no need to mention it. Unless they had great luck and were blessed by the heavens, they would probably die halfway. Of course, that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that once the news that they were going to the state of Yu spread, they might encounter great danger along the way. Even if their journey to the state of Yu was smooth, as long as they participated in the myriad treasure meet, it would be difficult to hide the news. At that time, on the way back to Liang Nation, they might be ambushed. Would Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan be able to protect themselves? What if they could? Huang Linger did not dare to let her imagination run wild. She wanted to ask Shen Ruyan and Jiang Chengxuan if they could reconsider. However, she also knew that since they had already decided on this matter, there was no possibility of changing their mind. For a moment, she didn't know what to do. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan immediately knew what she was worried about. Shen Ruyan stepped forward and patted her shoulder to comfort her. Don't worry, Linger. Your brother Jiang and I have already made preparations for everything that might happen. There won't be any dangers. You don't have to worry too much. All right then. No matter what, you have to be careful. We will. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded. After Huang Linger left Xunaming Peak, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not stay any longer. The two of them sent a message to Jiang Reni and Shen Yuanlong respectively. Then, they flew out of Liang Nation. The journey from Liang Nation to Myriad Treasure Immortal City in the state of Yu was very far. Even with the speed of golden core cultivators, it would still take them about half a year. Most importantly, from Liang Nation to the state of Yu, they had to pass by several areas where demon beasts roamed. If they accidentally alarmed the level 4 demon kings on the way, or were surrounded by a large number of demon beasts, they would be in a difficult situation they couldn't extricate themselves from. If their luck was any worse and they bumped into a level 5 demon emperor, they would be doomed. Fortunately, Jiang Chengxuan still had the portable void travel array disc, with the help of which it was not impossible to escape a level 5 demon emperor. Even so, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not dare to be careless on the way. As they flew, they tried their best not to make any sound, and their auras were even restrained to the limit. Just like that, the couple flew for 2 months without encountering any danger. At this moment, they had already left the territory of the Kangnan region and arrived at a place called the Sea of Cliffs. This place was called the Sea of Cliffs, but it was not the sea. Instead, it was a huge mountain range with countless cliffs. There were many demon beasts living here. It was said that there were also many level 4 demon kings. Once they sensed that a human cultivator had entered, these demon beasts, including the demon kings, would join forces without hesitation to kill the human cultivators who had invaded their territory. As far as Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan knew, there were no less than 6 golden cores who died here. At this moment, the couple was flying close to the ground, trying their best not to make any noise. Jiang Chengxuan even used the formless. Just as the couple was about to fly out of the area, a gorgeous dazzling light suddenly rose about 1,000 miles away from them. Immediately after, a loud beast roar sounded. All kinds of divine powers and innate spells appeared in the sky. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other. The two of them clearly did not expect to see such a thing happening. Soon, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes lit up with spiritual light as he activated the heavenly eye of insight. In that place, several level 4 demon kings were fighting with each other. Not far from them was a big tree. On the tree, there were 4 fruits in red, yellow, and blue. Jiang Chengxuan's pupils constricted when he saw the 4 fruits. Sensing his abnormality, Shen Ruyan immediately asked via voice transmission, "Husband, did you discover something?" Jiang Chengxuan calmed himself down and sent a voice transmission to Shen Ruyan. "There are 4 3-essence spiritual fruits there." "What 3-essence spiritual fruit?" Shen Ruyan was shocked when she heard what it was. She knew that the 3-essence spiritual fruit could strengthen the user's body, dharmic power, and primordial spirit at the same time. If this fruit was used as the main ingredient to refine the 3-essence spiritual pill, the effect might increase. If she and Jiang Chengxuan could obtain it, they only needed 1 pill to break through to the mid-stage golden core. The couple would turn a blind eye to it and pretend they didn't see anything if it was something ordinary. However, as for something as precious as 3-essence spiritual fruit, neither Jiang Chengxuan nor Shen Ruyan wanted to give up on it. A hint of determination appeared in the couple's eyes. Soon they quietly approached. In the blink of an eye, they were only 50 kilometers away from the 3-essence spiritual fruit. At this moment, the two of them could already see the situation clearly. There were a total of 3 demon beast races fighting each other. They were the golden-horned monkey race, the netherworld green snake race, and the wind-moon white tiger race. The leaders were all level 4 demon kings. In order to fight for the 3-element spiritual fruits, the 3 demon kings and the level 1, 2, and 3 demon beasts under them were already fighting to death. They did not hold back at all. Dozens of demon beasts fell to the ground as various innate spells blasted. Even the 3 demon kings had obvious injuries on their bodies. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan exchanged glances. Just as they were about to take action, they suddenly turned to look at a place hundreds of meters away. There, a beautiful woman in a silver dress also turned her head and looked at them. Their gazes met in the air, and both of them were clearly stunned. Clearly, they didn't expect that there would be someone else other than them in this place. However, at this moment, there was not much time to think about what to do. The moment the two sides planned to take actions just now, they had already released some fluctuations. This was also the main reason why they could sense each other's existence. If they delayed any longer, when the 3 demon kings reacted, the situation would be turned around against them. 2. Therefore, in the next moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan decisively chose to attack. With a few flashes of their figures, they quickly approached the big tree. At the same time, the woman in the silver gauze dress was not idle either. The moment Jiang Chengxuan and his wife made a move, her figure flashed out from the other side. In the blink of an eye, the 3 of them were next to the tree. "Roar! You're courting death." The 3 demon kings, who were in the middle of a fierce battle, were furious when they suddenly saw human golden core cultivators appear. Almost unanimously, the 3 demon kings stopped tearing each other to pieces and turned to attack Jiang Chengxuan and the other 2 instead. The golden-horned monkey suddenly raised its claw and grabbed the air. Crackles! A golden bolt of lightning appeared in its palm as it slashed at Jiang Chengxuan. The netherworld green snake opened its mouth. Swoosh! A black whirlwind rose from the ground. Then it grew larger and whirled faster. In the blink of an eye, it became 1,000 feet wide and swept towards the 3 of them. The wind-moon white tiger roared at the sky. Following that, a majestic moonlight poured down from the sky and into its body, causing its body to instantly expand. Wind blades spiraled up under his feet. The huge tiger body actually turned into a stream of light that charged towards the silver-dressed woman. Seeing this, The expressions of Jiang Chengxuan and the other two changed drastically. Jiang Chengxuan raised his hand and released the Black Spirit Shield. As he activated his dharmic power, the Black Spirit Shield expanded rapidly and became 1,000 feet tall. There was a series of loud bangs. The golden-horned monkey's golden lightning and the netherworld green snake's whirlwind clashed into the level 4 defensive Dharma treasure. The spiritual light on the surface of the shield quickly dimmed. Even Jiang Chengxuan's body was forced back more than 10 meters by the impact, leaving a deep pit in the ground. However, Shen Ruyan, who was next to him, took the opportunity when the 3 demon kings were entangled with her husband to quickly come to the tree. Just as she was about to reach out and pluck the 3 essence spirit fruits from the tree, the wind moon white tiger that was fighting with the silver-dressed woman suddenly roared at the sky again. In an instant, Shen Ruyan felt a buzz in her head. However, immediately, an incomparably majestic lightning figure appeared in her sea of consciousness and blocked the tiger roar from affecting her primordial spirit. While she was distracted, the wind moon white tiger and the silver-dressed woman also arrived beside the tree. At this moment, the 2 of them actually stopped fighting as if they had reached an agreement. 3 of them reached out to take the fruits at the same time. Shen Ruyan was the fastest. There was a soft crackling sound. As electric arcs jumped, she was the first to pick 2-3 essence spiritual fruits closest to her. At the same time, the remaining 2-3 essence spiritual fruits were taken by the silver-dressed woman and the wind moon white tiger. The moment they obtained the 3 essence spiritual fruit, the wind moon white tiger suddenly opened its mouth. With that, tens of thousands of green, yellow, black, and purple wind blades flew towards Shen Ruyan and the woman in the silver dress like raindrops. In addition, around the tiger, there were threads that looked like moonlight that condensed into a huge net, ready to trap the 2 of them should they escape. At this moment, the silver-dressed woman suddenly took out a silver scimitar. The silver scimitar was extremely sharp as it blocked the wind blades. Shen Ruyan didn't stay idle and immediately took out the 5 lightning immortal slayer. With a roar of the thunder, the wind blades quickly lost power and dissipated in the air. Seeing that its attack could not deal any substantial damage to Shen Ruyan and the silver-dressed woman, and that the golden-horned monkey and the netherworld green snake couldn't do anything to Jiang Chengxuan either, the wind moon white tiger immediately had the intention to retreat. No matter what, it had already obtained one of the 3 essence spiritual fruits. Lingering around would not do it any good. Instead, it might put itself in danger. After all, the tiger did not have a good relationship with the golden-horned monkey and the netherworld green snake. Just now, they were fighting each other to death over the 3 essence spiritual fruit. If not for the sudden intervention of the 3 human golden cores, the tiger might have been killed. Just as the wind moon white tiger began to retreat and was about to leave the battlefield, a roar suddenly came from afar. Accompanying it were several auras at the level of the golden core. Clearly, there were several more demon kings coming. That made Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and the woman in the silver dress frown. Clearly, the commotion here had already alarmed most of the demon beasts in the Sea of Cliffs. Perhaps even a level 5 demon emperor had sensed it. At the thought of this, Jiang Chengxuan and his wife, as well as the silver-dressed woman, did not dare to stay any longer. However, leaving the battle was not as easy as entering the battle. At this moment, the golden-horned monkey and the netherworld green snake suddenly seemed to have gone crazy and started to stop them from leaving. The golden-horned monkey spoke in human language to the wind moon white tiger. "Tiger, did you forget the oath you made? As long as a human cultivator enters the Sea of Cliffs, no matter what grudges we have, our first responsibility is to unite and kill the human cultivators. If you dare to break your oath, we will tell Demon Emperor White Elephant what you have done. Think about it yourself, what will happen to you at that time?" These words immediately put a look of panic on the wind moon white tiger's face. After letting out an angry roar, it immediately pounced at Shen Ruyan and the silver-dressed woman again. At the same time, the golden-horned monkey and the netherworld green snake also re-engaged in a fight with Jiang Chengxuan. The 3 demon kings had a clear strategy. They did not need to risk their lives to go all out. They only needed to restrain Jiang Chengxuan and the other 2 and not let them escape. Soon, when the other demon kings arrived, with their strength combined, they would be able to kill the 3 human cultivators with ease. Jiang Chengxuan and the other 2 had a rough idea what the demon kings were up to. If this continued, the situation they found themselves in would only get worse. If they prolonged this fight until the demon emperor arrived, no matter how many trump cards they had, it would be useless. Therefore, after unleashing an attack that carried all that might, they took out their trump cards to escape. For the silver-dressed woman, she took out a level 4 space-breaking talisman. Before the golden-horned monkey and the others could react, the silver-dressed woman had already activated this talisman. In an instant, a white light enveloped this woman. Then her figure blurred and eventually vanished without a trace. This infuriated the golden-horned monkey and the wind-moon white tiger. In their fury, Jiang Chengxuan took out the portable void travel array disc that was emitting an extremely dazzling light, and the space around him suddenly fluctuated extremely violently. "Quick, stop them!" the golden-horned monkey roared. It repeatedly bombarded Jiang Chengxuan with its intrinsic divine power in an attempt to interrupt the teleportation. However, it was a step too late. With a swoosh, the array disc disappeared on the spot, together with Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Seeing this, the golden-horned monkey and the other 2 demon kings were enraged. Clearly, none of them expected that the 3 human golden cores all had teleportation trump cards. They were lost as to what to do. Boom! At this moment, 4 huge figures suddenly landed at the scene. They all had an aura that was on par with the golden-horned monkey and the others. "What's going on? Why did you let them escape?" A bull demon king as big as a mountain spoke in a muffled voice. Upon hearing its words, the other 3 demon kings also looked at the golden-horned monkey and the others. The golden-horned monkey and the others were already in a bad mood and were more annoyed at the questioning tone of the bull demon king. Their attitude was not quite friendly. However, before they could say anything, a phantom as vast as the world appeared in front of the golden-horned monkey and the other demon kings. Demon Emperor White Elephant. Subconsciously, they all knelt on the ground. Although the huge phantom was only a projection of Demon Emperor White Elephant, a level 5 demon beast, they still felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. Their body, which was kneeling on the ground, began to tremble uncontrollably. "Pass down my orders that all demon beasts begin to search the 3 human golden cores who have escaped just now." Suddenly, the majestic voice of the demon Emperor White Elephant sounded in their ears. This made the golden-horned monkey and the other demon kings hold their breaths with extreme fear. Without another word, they immediately kowtowed respectfully. "Yes." At the same time, in a quiet forest, ripples suddenly appeared in the air. Immediately after, the figures of a man and a woman slowly walked out of the thin air. They were none other than Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. At this moment, they were looking at their surroundings with puzzled expressions. Jiang Chengxuan said, "Ruyan, do you know where this is?" Shen Ruyan scanned the surroundings with her divine sense. After a while, only then did she say uncertainly, "This place seems to be the Forest of the Cranes." Forest of the Cranes. Jiang Chengxuan was clearly surprised upon knowing where they were currently. As far as he knew, the Forest of the Cranes was not far from the state of Yu. Could it be that the teleportation array disc had brought them here? If that was the case, it had saved them a lot of time and travel. However, they still needed to investigate carefully to confirm if this place was really the Forest of the Cranes. With that, the couple concealed their figures again and hid their aura. After a few days of investigation, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were absolutely certain that this was indeed the Forest of the Cranes. By rough estimation, they were only less than half a month away from Huyun City, which was the closest to the state of Yu. After arriving at Huyun City, as long as they were careful and did not expose themselves, they should be able to reach the state of Yu without a hitch. About 10 days later, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan successfully passed through the Forest of the Cranes and appeared in an open space. This place was already within the territory of the state of Yu. Most of the people coming and going were cultivators. However, these cultivators' cultivation levels were not high. Most of them were only at the Qi refinement. Occasionally, they could see a few foundation. Establishment cultivators. As soon as Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan appeared outside the forest, they saw 2 groups of people fighting not far away. One group had 7 or 8 people, all Qi refinement cultivators. Another group only had 2 people, but one of them was at the foundation establishment. "Hua Daijin, you're a foundation establishment senior. Aren't you ashamed of yourself for hijacking us Qi refinement juniors? Aren't you afraid that Songyang market will hold you accountable? At this moment, among the Qi refinement cultivators, a middle-aged man at the 9th level of Qi refinement suddenly spoke angrily. Hearing his words, the Foundation establishment cultivator called Hua Daijin could not help but sneer. Hold me accountable? How? As long as I kill you all, no one will know what happened. Yang Zhenyuan, if you want to blame someone, blame your Yang family for being too greedy. How dare a mere Qi refinement family covet Foundation establishment pills? You brought this calamity upon yourself. As he spoke, Hua Daijin had already controlled his level 2 Dharma artifact to send the 3 high-grade level 1 Dharma artifacts flying. Then, the power of the level 2 Dharma artifact did not decrease as it charged towards Yang Zhenyuan, who was closest to him. Seeing this, Yang Zhenyuan looked indignant. The Yang family had once been a dignified Violet Palace family. However, the younger generations were not promising, causing the Yang family to decline and eventually end up becoming a small Qi refinement family. This time, the Yang family had spent almost everything they had to buy a Foundation establishment pill from the Songyang market. In the end, before they could return to the Yang family, they were ambushed by Hua Daijin. Seeing that the level 2 Dharma artifact was about to hit him, Yang Zhenyuan hurriedly took out a high-grade level 1 shield. With a bang, the high-grade level 1 defensive shield was sent flying along with Yang Zhenyuan. The entire shield was instantly riddled with holes and could no longer be used. Family head. This scene immediately shocked the rest of the Yang family. They desperately rushed towards Yang Zhenyuan, wanting to protect him. However, how could their speed be faster than a level 2 Dharma artifact? After sending the shield flying away, Hua Daijin's level 2 Dharma artifact had already arrived in front of Yang Zhenyuan again. Despair flashed across Yang Zhenyuan's eyes. However, at this moment, a wisp of sword chi suddenly landed gently on the level 2 Dharma artifact that was ready to take Yang Zhenyuan's life. Ding! The level 2 Dharma artifact immediately dimmed and flew back in Hua Daijin's direction. This scene made Hua Daijin's expression change drastically. Yang Zhenyuan and the others were also shocked. They looked in the direction of the sword chi with their eyes wide open. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were slowly walking towards them. Who are you? Why are you interfering in my family matters? Hua Daijin spoke in a deep voice with an ugly expression. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan ignored him and went straight to Yang Zhenyuan. When Yang Zhenyuan saw this, he immediately bowed to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and said gratefully, I am Yang Zhenyuan. Thank you for saving my life, senior. Jiang Chengxuan waved his hand and said, Let me ask you, what exactly is this place? How far is it from Huyun City? Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, a hint of surprise flashed across Yang Zhenyuan's eyes, but he quickly replied, Senior, we are in the jurisdiction area of Songyang Market. As for the Huyun City you mentioned, it's still a long way from here. It's about 60,000 to 70,000 kilometers. Jiang Chengxuan nodded. Then he handed a mid-grade level 2 golden armor puppet talisman to Yang Zhenyuan and said, This talisman is a level 2 golden armor puppet talisman. After being activated, it can summon a battle puppet comparable to the mid-stage Foundation establishment realm. The duration is about 5 minutes. Take it as payment for answering my question just now. What? Level 2 puppet talisman? Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, Yang Zhenyuan and his family members were shocked. They had never heard of such a level 2 talisman in this world. Although the duration of the puppet was only 5 minutes, it was still very impressive. At this moment, Hua Daijin and the other one, who had been bullying Yang Zhenyuan just now, suddenly flew into the distance. Judging from the strength Jiang Chengxuan displayed, they felt that he was not simple. Now that Jiang Chengxuan gave away a level 2 talisman as if it was nothing, the suspicion in their heart turned into uneasiness. Therefore, they did not hesitate at all and fled, while Jiang Chengxuan was talking to Yang Zhenyuan. However, all their attempts to escape were useless in front of a golden core. Suddenly, 2 sword lights tore through the air. Immediately after, Yang Zhenyuan was shocked to see the heads of Hua Daijin and the other one, who had already fled for a long distance, fall from the sky. Their corpses hit the ground and were smashed into muds. Yang Zhenyuan and the others swallowed their saliva nervously. To be able to kill Hua Daijin so easily without using any Dharma artifacts, they figured Jiang Chengxuan should be far above the Foundation establishment realm. However, just as they turned around and wanted to ask Jiang Chengxuan, they were shocked to discover that Jiang Chengxuan and the woman beside him were nowhere to be seen. Without another word, they bowed respectfully in the direction where Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were standing. Then they quickly rushed to the place where Hua Daozhen and the other one had fallen. There were 2 storage bags waiting to be picked. Jiang Chengxuan didn't want it, but to Yang Zhenyuan and the others, it was a huge fortune. A few days later, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan finally arrived at Huyun City. This city was also the largest cultivation city at the border of the state of Yu, with multiple violet place sects and families. The city lord, Zhu Tianlong, was an authentic golden core cultivator. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not care about that. The reason why they came to this city was only to use the teleportation array here. It had to be known that the territory of the state of Yu was many times larger than the Kangnan region. The distance between cities was also extremely far. From Huyun City to the myriad treasure immortal city, even with the speed of a golden core, it would take more than half a year and might not be enough. As such, the existence of a teleportation array was especially necessary. Although setting up and maintaining teleportation array required a lot of manpower and resources every year. However, at the same time, the profit generated from the teleportation array would also be an astronomical figure. At this moment, the couple had already arrived at one of the teleportation arrays in the city. The people in charge of guarding here were 2 cultivators at the 9th level of the Foundation establishment. When they saw someone coming, they subconsciously used their divine senses to investigate. The discovery shocked them. Not daring to be negligent, the 2 of them immediately said respectfully, "Greetings, seniors. May I ask if you're heading to the Illusory Dragon City?" Illusory Dragon City. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were puzzled. The 2 Foundation establishment cultivators seemed to have realized that this was the first time the couple had come to Huyun City. They immediately explained, "Seniors, I don't know if you are aware of this, but Huyun City only has teleportation arrays to the Illusory Dragon City and the White Polar City. The one we are in charge of is to the Illusory Dragon City. As for the teleportation array to White Polar City, it's on the east side." "I see." Hearing their explanation, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan immediately understood. It seemed that there was no direct teleportation array from Huyun City to the myriad treasure immortal city. Jiang Chengxuan asked the 2 of them, "If we want to go to the myriad treasure immortal city, between the Illusory Dragon City or the White Polar City, which one should we go to first?" The 2 Foundation establishment cultivators were enlightened when they heard Jiang Chengxuan's words. One of the tall and thin Foundation establishment cultivators said, "Seniors, are you planning to go to the myriad treasure immortal city for the myriad treasure meet? If so, you can go to the Illusory Dragon City first, and use the teleportation array there to head to the East Mystic Immortal City. From there, you can teleport to the myriad treasure immortal city." In other words, they had to transfer to 2 cities along the way before reaching the myriad treasure immortal city. After understanding this, Jiang Chengxuan immediately said to the 2 of them, "In that case, we'll go to the Illusory Dragon City first." The tall and thin cultivator immediately smiled and nodded. "Sure, the fee to the Illusory Dragon City will be 6 spiritual stones per person. There are 2 of you, so that'll be 3,200 spiritual stones. Here, there's a total of 4,000 spiritual stones here. You can keep the changes. Take it as payment for answering our questions just now." Jiang Chengxuan casually threw a storage bag at the 2 of them. The 2 of them were delighted. There were 800 more spiritual stones inside. If the 2 of them split it equally, each of them could get 400 spiritual stones. To Foundation establishment cultivators like them, this was already a lot of extra income. Soon, the couple stood on the teleportation array. As the white light of the teleportation array lit up, their figures immediately disappeared on the spot. After arriving at the Illusory Dragon City, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan quickly found the teleportation array to East Mystic Immortal City. However, when they arrived at East Mystic Immortal City, they were told that the teleportation array to the myriad treasure Immortal City would only open in 2 days. So the 2 of them stayed for 2 days. It was not until the third day that they boarded the teleportation array to the myriad treasure immortal city. A slight sense of weightlessness came. When Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan saw their surroundings again, they realized that they had arrived at their destination, the myriad treasure immortal city. It had to be said that because the myriad treasure meet was approaching, the city was abnormally lively. The streets were filled with humans, reaching out to as far as the eye could see. At this moment, there were about 4 months before the myriad treasure meet officially began. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan naturally needed to find a place to stay first. After searching, they found a high-grade temporary cave abode nearby. This kind of cave abode was dense with spiritual qi, enough for the two of them to cultivate at the same time. Previously, they had been busy traveling. Even if they had obtained 2-3 essence spiritual fruits, they did not have the time to consume it and attempt to break through. Now that they had arrived at the myriad treasure immortal city and rented a high-grade cave abode, they could start doing it. However, before that, they wanted to take a look around the myriad treasure immortal city to see if they could find the supplementary materials for refining the 3 essence spiritual pill. Soon, the two of them arrived at the largest shop in the city. It was called the Myriad Treasure Pavilion. It was said that the owner of this pavilion was one of the 3 overlord forces in the state of Yu. The Hidden Sword Palace, the Nascent Soul Immortal Family, the Cow Family, and the Mingjin sect. The arrival of 2 golden cores immediately alarmed the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper was about 40 years old and was a golden core as well. When he saw Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, he immediately cupped his fists with a smile. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Ren Kongming, currently the shopkeeper of the Myriad Treasure Pavilion. Fellow Taoists, you must be from afar, right? Nice to meet you. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were both a little surprised that as soon as they met, the other party could tell they were from afar. Ren Kongming smiled and said, in case you wonder how I know, I'm more or less familiar with most of the peer fellow Taoists. The fact that I haven't seen the two of you before means that you must be new here. By the way, I wonder if there is anything you want. Jiang Chengxuan said, do you have moonlight grass, purple night fruit, and spirit cleansing flower in stock? Hearing the items Jiang Chengxuan mentioned, Ren Kongming couldn't help but look surprised. He seemed to have guessed something, but he didn't ask further. Instead, he pondered for a moment and replied, we currently have moonlight grass and purple night fruit in our shop. However, there is no spirit cleansing flower. You should know that such a spiritual object that can be used on the primordial spirit is rarely seen. Even if we have one occasionally, it will be sold out quickly. Is that so? Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were obviously disappointed. If such a big shop did not have spirit cleansing flowers, then even if they went elsewhere, the chances of them finding one were slim. Immediately, the couple bought 2 moonlight grasses and purple night fruits. Although the moonlight grass and the purple night fruit were both level 4 spiritual items. However, their price was not particularly expensive. At the very least, the couple could perfectly afford it. In total, they spent 200,000 spiritual stones. It had to be known that some special level 3 spiritual items were far more valuable than the moonlight grass and purple night fruit. For example, violet palace jade or purple heaven pills. When Ren Kongming saw that Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were about to leave after buying the moonlight grass and purple night fruit, he suddenly called out to them. Please wait a moment. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan turned around in confusion. Ren Kongming smiled and said, if the two of you really want the spirit cleansing flower, you can come over to take a look on the day the Myriad Treasure Meet officially begins in 4 months. Seeing that Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were still puzzled, Ren Kongming stopped beating around the bush and said, the Myriad Treasure Meet this time is divided into 2 sections. I believe both of you know about this, right? Before Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could answer, Ren Kongming continued. The first section is the Myriad Treasure Trade Fair. At that time, from the Qi refinement to the foundation establishment, from the Violet Palace to the Golden Core, there will be trade fairs held for cultivators of different realms. The venue of the trade fair for Golden Cores will be in this pavilion. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan finally understood. No wonder Ren Kongming said that they could come back to take a look. Jiang Chengxuan immediately nodded at Ren Kongming. I see, thank you for your reminder, shopkeeper Ren. On the day the Myriad Treasure Trade Fair begins, my Tao companion and one will remember to come. With that, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan cupped their fists and bowed to Ren Kongming before leaving the myriad treasure pavilion. After arriving outside, the couple was not in a hurry to return to the cave abode. Without the spirit cleansing flower, they could not use 3 essence spiritual fruit to refine pills. Although they could directly consume the 3 essence spiritual fruit and use it to try to break through to the mid-stage golden core, that would be quite wasteful. Unless there was really no other way, they did not intend to eat the 3 essence spiritual fruit directly. Now they planned to stroll around the myriad treasure immortal city and see if there was anything they could use. However, much to their disappointment, they spent half a day walking around but didn't find anything they could use. Just as the couple was about to return, they suddenly bumped into an acquaintance. She was dressed in a silver gauze dress and had a peerless beauty. She was the golden core female cultivator they met in the Sea of Cliffs that day. At this moment, the female cultivator also saw Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. She was as stunned as the couple. They clearly didn't expect to come across each other in the myriad treasure immortal city. "Fellow Taoists, we met again." The woman in the silver gauze dress spoke first. She smiled and continued, "We parted in a hurry that day. Since we're fated to meet again here, why don't we find a place to sit and chat for a while? Let me introduce myself first. I'm Guan Xinting. How should I address the two of you?" It was undeniable that this woman left a deep impression on Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan that day. Although they fought over the 3 essence spiritual fruit, they also fought the demon kings as a team. Most importantly, be it Jiang Chengxuan and his wife or Guan Xinting, they both adhered to their bottom line and didn't scheme against each other to snatch the 3 essence spiritual fruits in their hands. This was also the main reason why Guan Xinting had a friendly attitude towards Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. At that moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan also introduced themselves. About their origins, they tacitly didn't ask. A moment later, the group of 3 arrived at the private room of a restaurant called Wanlai Restaurant. After the waiter served the spiritual tea and snacks, Guan Xinting smiled at the two of them and asked, "Fellow Taoist Jiang and fellow Taoist Shen, you should be here to participate in the myriad treasure meet, right?" Regarding this question, the couple did not hide it. There was nothing to hide. They nodded. "Fellow Taoist Guan should be the same, right?" "Yeah." Guan Xinting nodded. She continued, "Then do you know that apart from the trade fair and auction section, there will also be a lecture held by a perfected lord to preach the Tao?" Lecture held by a perfected lord. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan widened their eyes, clearly not knowing about what Guan Xinting had said. If this was true, they could already imagine how lively and crowded the scene would be at that time. Opportunities to listen to nascent soul, perfected lord preach the Tao were rare. If one had a chance to attend it, they should consider themselves lucky. "Do you know when?" Jiang Chengxuan asked excitedly. Guan Xinting nodded and said, No, it'll be in half a month. The location of the lecture will be the Van Du Plain 50 kilometers away from the myriad treasure immortal city." "It's actually not in the city." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were surprised. If Guan Xinting had not told them about this, they might have missed out on this rare opportunity. Thinking of this, the couple immediately stood up and cupped their fists at Guan Xinting with an extremely solemn expression. "Fellow Taoist Guan, thank you for telling us about this. If not for you, the two of us would have missed this opportunity." Guan Xinting immediately smiled and waved her hand. "You're being too serious. With your identities, even without my reminder, you should be able to find out about this sooner or later." However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan knew in their hearts that in a place where they barely knew anyone, gathering information was by no means easy. Therefore, they were grateful to Guan Xinting and remembered this favor deeply. "By the way," at that moment Shen Ruyan spoke, "Fellow Taoist Guan, do you know which perfected lord will be preaching the Tao on Van Du Plain?" Jiang Chengxuan was obviously very curious about this question too. He immediately turned to look at Guan Xinting. Guan Xinting said, "It should be perfected Lord Xuan Yang of the Hidden Sword Palace. This perfected lord has publicly preached the Tao many times and supported many juniors." "It's actually him." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were both surprised. They knew that perfected Lord Xuan Yang had helped them stop the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor from entering the Liang Nation back then. If not for this person, the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor might have razed the Liang Nation to the ground. In private, Some people labeled this perfected lord as difficult to communicate with, unreasonable, and even mean. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, who had received his favor, knew that those labels were untrue. Those who truly knew and understood this perfected lord would not hold such an opinion about him. After a while, the couple bade farewell to Guan Xinting. Before they parted, the two of them thanked Guan Xinting again and agreed to go to the Vandu Plain in half a month to listen to the preach. At the same time, in a shop called the 100-Pill Pavilion, Shangyuan Yangsheng, who had brought Shangyuan Maofeng to the myriad treasure immortal city 3 years ago, looked at the two people who suddenly passed by outside the window, and his eyes instantly darkened. They were none other than Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, who had just parted ways with Guan Xinting. Because the streets were filled with people, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not notice Shangyuan Yangsheng's gaze. On the other hand, when Shangyuan Maofeng noticed Shangyuan Yangsheng's expression, he immediately followed his gaze and looked out of the window of the 100-Pill Pavilion. Then, his expression changed drastically. Fourth granduncle they are. Yeah. Shangyuan Yangsheng put a finger to his lips, then shook his head. He gestured for him to stop looking in that direction. After all, at the level of Golden Core, any hostile or unfriendly gaze would be easily detected. Shangyuan Yangsheng had also considered this, so he told Shangyuan Maofeng not to stare. It was not until the couple returned to the cave, abode, that Shangyuan Maofeng could not help but say to Shangyuan Yangsheng, "Fourth granduncle, are those two people the culprits who killed seventh granduncle? What should we do next?" Shangyuan Yangsheng couldn't help but shake his head thoughtfully. "There's no hurry. I'll find someone to find out more about them and see if they have any helpers in Myriad Treasure Immortal City. After we completely figure out their situation, we'll make plans." Half a month passed quickly. After Jiang Chengxuan and his wife met up with Guan Xinting, the three of them went straight to the Vandu Plain. At this moment, many people had already gathered in the Vandu Plain, all here for the perfected lord's lecture. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked around and realized that there were more than 10 golden core cultivators here. This was something that could not be seen in the 5 nations of the Kangnan region. Most of the Violet Palace and Foundation establishment cultivators present were juniors or disciples of the golden core cultivators. There were not many independent cultivators. This was not to say that perfected Lord Chuan Yang had any requirements for background in order to attend this lecture. In fact, he treated everyone who was fated to come here equally. The only thing was that you had to be fated to be informed of this event and come in time. It all depended on fate. Whether you overheard it on the street or were informed by someone, as long as you could come, it was fate. For those who were fated to come, perfected Lord Chuan Yang would happily accept them. Jiang Chengxuan and his wife quickly found an empty seat and sat down. Not long after they sat down, colorful lights suddenly condensed on the high platform at the front. In the end, a person dressed in white and barefooted appeared in front of everyone. He looked like a 7- or 8-year-old child with a purple sword mark between his eyebrows. His appearance immediately struck everyone with awe. Without another word, they stood up and bowed to the child in front of them with extremely respectful expressions. "Greetings, perfected Lord Chuan Yang. Take a seat." As soon as perfected Lord Chuan Yang spoke, Jiang Chengxuan and the others realized that his voice was not that of a child, but a voice filled with vicissitudes. True, it was said that perfected Lord Chuan Yang was more than 1,000 years old, so it was naturally impossible for him to be a child. The reason why he looked like a child was probably because of something else. No one dared to wildly guess the reason. They immediately calmed down and sat down as perfected Lord Chuan Yang had instructed. This Tao lecture would last for a total of 1 to 2 months. The content of the lecture was mainly about cultivation. From the Qi refinement, to the Foundation establishment, to the Violet Palace, to the Golden Core, he would cover every major realm. The method of his teaching was explaining profound knowledge in simple terms. Even when Jiang Chengxuan and the others listened to the knowledge regarding the Qi refinement and Foundation establishment, they were also quite enlightened. It was very helpful in verifying the mistakes they had made along the way and correcting them. Just like that, perfected Lord Chuan Yang took a whole month to cover the knowledge about Qi refinement, Foundation establishment, and Violet Palace. It could be clearly felt that after hearing perfected Lord Chuan Yang's lecture, the aura fluctuations of all the Qi Refinement Foundation establishment Violet Palace cultivators here more or less changed. Compared to before the Tao lecture, their essence, Qi, and spirit had greatly improved. After they returned and absorbed the content of this lecture further, their cultivation and potential would definitely increase quite significantly. Next, I'm going to touch on the knowledge regarding the Golden Core realm. At this moment, perfected Lord Chuan Yang spoke slowly again. As everyone knows, condensing a golden core is an extremely important juncture on our cultivation path. Before that, if you wanted to change your cultivation technique and choose another path, there was still some leeway. However, after you prepare to form your core or even succeed in forming your core, it won't be so easy to change your cultivation path. If you insist, your core will break and you will die. These words immediately made the faces of some late-stage Violet Palace cultivators turn slightly pale. Even some golden core cultivators tensed up. Clearly, they did not know about this before. Or rather, they weren't entirely sure. Now that they knew, they immediately dispelled some of the thoughts they shouldn't have. In addition, regarding forming the core, perfected Lord Chuan Yang continued, you have to be very careful, especially when it comes to the quality of your golden core. This time, even Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could not help but perk up. After all, they had not forgotten how terrifying the heavenly tribulation was when they condensed their supreme grade and divine grade golden cores. That was not a heavenly tribulation supposed to befall a golden core cultivator. If not for the tribulation avoidance pearl, it was utterly impossible for them to survive it with their own strength. It's not an exaggeration to say that the quality of the golden core you condensed, to a large extent, determines whether you can successfully refine a nascent soul in the future. Affected Lord Chuan Yang's voice sounded again. Normally speaking, the quality of a golden core can be divided into 9 levels. First to third level are considered low-grade golden cores, fourth to sixth level are considered mid-grade golden cores, and seventh to ninth level are considered high-grade golden cores. Only by condensing a mid-grade or high-grade golden core can one truly have the possibility of refining a nascent soul in the future. As for the low-grade golden core, it's not that there's no possibility of reaching the nascent soul, but a godsend opportunity is necessary, otherwise. He did not say the rest, but everyone present understood what he meant. May I ask, perfected Lord? At this moment, someone stood up and asked respectfully, other than the 9th level, is there a better golden core? Perfected Lord Chuan Yang shook his head with certainty. No. The 9th level golden core is the limit. At the same time, I advise you not to covet things that do not exist, lest you fail to condense it and bring disaster to yourself. At that time, no one will be able to save you. This reminder carried a harsh tone, causing the expressions of many cultivators to turn pale. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan felt that there was something else in perfected Lord Chuan Yang's words. Perhaps it was inconvenient for him to say, or perhaps he was unwilling to say. In short, the topic of the golden core was over. Next, it was about some things to pay attention to when cultivating in the golden core realm, as well as how to make sure not to deviate from one's cultivation path during this process. These knowledge were very useful to Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and the other golden cores present. Everyone listened with great attention. Unknowingly, another month passed. At this moment, only the golden core cultivators were left. As for the Violet Palace, Foundation Establishment, and Qi Refinement cultivators, they had long been pushed far away by an invisible force. After all, the content concerning the golden core realm was too profound. If cultivators below it were exposed to it too early, it would not do them any good. Moreover, to put it bluntly, they were qualified to listen at all. At that moment, perfected Lord Chuan Yang said again, next, I'll touch lightly on transforming a core to a nascent soul. This should be of some help to you, especially when it comes to choosing the future path. At that moment, perfected Lord Chuan Yang told everyone about transforming the core to a nascent soul. This process was not like what some people thought, that in order to enter the nascent soul realm, one had to break their golden core first. Reaching the nascent soul realm was actually a gradual process of transforming the golden core into the appearance of one's primordial spirit. In addition, the nascent soul was also divided into several grades, namely heaven, earth, black, and yellow. The heaven grade nascent soul was the highest, and the yellow grade nascent soul was the lowest. Generally speaking, low-grade and mid-grade golden cores could at most condense a black-grade nascent soul, but the most likely outcome was yellow-grade. Only when your golden core reached the 7th level would you have a chance of condensing an earth-grade nascent soul. If it was a 9th level golden core, there was an 80% chance that you could condense an earth-grade nascent soul. Perfected Lord, may I ask about the heaven-grade nascent soul? How should one obtain it? Suddenly, someone raised a question. Everyone immediately pricked up their ears. Obviously, they were very curious about how to condense the best nascent soul. Perfected Lord Chuan, Yang swept his gaze across everyone and replied, "If you want to condense a heaven-grade nascent soul, you have to find the origin chi first." Origin chi. Many people could not help but reveal a trace of confusion on their faces. Clearly, they had never heard of the so-called origin chi. Perfected Lord Chuan Yang explained, "Origin chi is the chi of heaven and earth nurtured every 60 years when heaven and earth interact. Only by fusing this item into your nascent soul can you break the limit of your potential and obtain a heaven-grade nascent soul." At that point, Perfected Lord Chuan Yang suddenly thought of something and shook his head with a sigh. Many people were confused by that. However, observant people like Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could read something else from Perfected Lord Chuan Yang's sigh. There seemed to be something Perfected Lord Chuan Yang couldn't tell or found it inappropriate to tell. However, Perfected Lord Chuan Yang did not elaborate on it and continued the topic. One of the most important conditions to condense a heaven-grade nascent soul is to possess the origin chi. Other than that, there's another indispensable condition. This time before anyone could ask, Perfected Lord Chuan Yang added, "That is to understand the Tao you are pursuing." Understand the Tao we are pursuing. Many people were puzzled. What kind of condition was this? How could people who had come thus far not know the Tao they were pursuing? As though he could read everyone's thoughts, Perfected Lord Chuan Yang sneered for the first time. "I can guarantee that there are less than 5 people here who have truly understood the Tao they are pursuing." What? Many people present could not help but reveal shocked expressions when they heard that. "Don't doubt my words." Perfected Lord Chuan Yang spoke again. "Let me ask you, what do you think the Tao you are pursuing is? Is it to become stronger, live forever, take over the world, or become an immortal?" Without waiting for an answer, Perfected Lord Chuan Yang continued, "These things can at most be considered a goal, a desire, an ambition, but it's not the Tao you think it is. The true Tao is a conviction for which you are willing to give up everything to uphold it, a something that can only be understood tacitly and not spoken of. Take immortality, for example. If someone told you that in order to be immortal, you have to let go of everything, your emotions, your desires, your glory and reputation. You have to be like an ascetic, day after day, year after year, ignoring everything and cultivating in seclusion. Will you still be willing to do it? To become stronger. How strong is considered strong? Even if you are invincible and can turn the world upside down with a wave of your hand, this strength might not be your limit. Will you continue to pursue strength or be content with where you are? Will you stick to your original intention and stay faithful to yourself?" No one answered, and everyone looked lost. Perfected Lord Chuan Yang sneered. "Why, you're lost just like that. Like I said, the true Tao is not just a goal, a desire, an ambition, and so on that you think it is. Similarly, it also can't be described with mere words. If you can understand it, then you will understand. If you can't, then no matter what I say, it's useless. If I have to use a word to describe it, it would be a conviction." After that, Perfected Lord Chuan Yang did not care if everyone could understand his words and moved to the next topic. Just like that, another month passed quickly. Just as everyone was immersed in Perfected Lord Chuan Yang's lecture, he suddenly stopped. He looked up at the sky and said, "This lecture will end here. You can go back and absorb it." At that point, Perfected Lord Chuan Yang paused for a moment before looking at the few people present. That included Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, as well as Guan Xinting, who was beside them. "Young friends, if you're not in a hurry, why don't you stay for a while longer? I can answer some of your doubts and questions." Cleansing flower. Those who were not called to stay immediately looked at Jiang Chengxuan and the others enviously. To have a chance to be personally chosen by Perfected Lord Chuan Yang and be able to ask him questions in private was an opportunity that many people could not obtain in their lives. Jiang Chengxuan and the others were also delighted. After respectfully replying to perfected Lord Chuan Yang, they waited for the others to leave before going forward one by one and asking perfected Lord Chuan Yang some questions that puzzled them. Perfected Lord Chuan Yang answered patiently. When Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan came up to perfected Lord Chuan Yang, a rare smile appeared on his face. He looked at the two of them and said, "Two young friends from the Kangnan region's Liang nation, I know you." This caught Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan off guard. Clearly, they didn't know how perfected Lord Chuan Yang recognized them. Perfected Lord Chuan Yang said, "I wonder if you have any questions." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other. The two of them then bowed respectfully to perfected Lord Chuan Yang before Jiang Chengxuan said, "Perfected Lord, is there a golden core higher than 9th level?" "Yes." The Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan surprised. When perfected Lord Chuan Yang heard Jiang Chengxuan's question, he gave an immediate answer. Perfected Lord Chuan Yang continued with a smile. "Do you find it strange that when I was teaching I said no, but now I gave the complete opposite answer?" Before the two of them could answer, perfected Lord Chuan Yang said again, "The reason why I said that to everyone is because, in the 9 essences cultivation world, it's almost impossible for ordinary people to surpass the 9th level golden core. Even if they surpassed it, they would not be able to survive the upcoming heavenly tribulation. So, instead of letting them make meaningless attempts, it's better to be practical." Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's heart skipped a beat. Just like how they had guessed. In the current cultivation world, no existence that surpassed the 9th level golden core was allowed to appear. Perfected Lord Chuan Yang continued to explain. "Actually, there's something I didn't say just now. That is, there's almost a 90% chance that those who have condensed a golden core above the 9th level can successfully condense a heaven nascent soul. I let out a sigh just now upon mentioning this, because it's really very unlikely for anyone to surpass the 9th level golden core in the current 9 essence cultivation world. Given this situation, condensing a heaven nascent soul is already the limit to what we are capable of achieving. As for the flawless nascent soul, it only exists in legends." So, suddenly, perfected Lord Chuan Yang's expression turned extremely serious. He looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and said solemnly, "If a miracle really happens in the 9 essences cultivation world that someone above the 9th level golden core is born, then no matter what, you can't let a third person know, including your family. Because if such existence is perceived by forces that are unknown to you and me, and are way more powerful than us, then calamities might befall us." The couple didn't expect to hear such words from perfected Lord Chuan Yang. This was considered a secret in the 9 essences cultivation world. Did this mean that he had already guessed something? Without dwelling on this matter, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan bowed and thanked him. "Thank you for your teaching, perfected Lord. We will keep it in mind." "Good." Perfected Lord Chuan Yang nodded. After the couple bid farewell to perfected Lord Chuan Yang and met up with Guan Xinting, who was waiting on the other side, Guan Xinting immediately smiled and said to the two of them, "How is it? With Senior Chuan Yang's personal guidance, you should have learned a lot, right?" Jiang Chengxuan immediately smiled and nodded. "It's all thanks to you for telling us about this lecture. If not for that, my wife and I would not have such enlightenment." Soon, the three of them returned to the Myriad Treasure Immortal City. A month later, the Myriad Treasure meet officially began. This day, as soon as Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan entered the Myriad Treasure Pavilion, they saw Guan Xinting, who had arrived before them. At this moment, there was a man and a woman beside her. "Fellow Taoist Jiang, fellow Taoist Shen, you're here." Guan Xinting immediately smiled and took the initiative to introduce the man and woman to the couple. These two fellow Taoists are both supreme elders of the Fire Cloud sect, Yun Xingkang and Qiu Wanzhu. They are also Tao companions. The Fire Cloud sect that Guan Xinting was talking about was a medium-sized golden core sect in the state of Yu. There were a total of 8 golden core cultivators in the sect. If it was in the Kangnan region, it would definitely be a dominant existence. Fellow Taoist Yun, Wanzhu, these are Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, whom I mentioned to you before. At this moment, Guan Xinting introduced Jiang Chengxuan and his wife to Yun Xingkang and Qiu Wanzhu. After both sides greeted each other, the group of 5 arrived at the top floor of the Myriad Treasure Pavilion, where the trade fair for golden core cultivators was held. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked around and realized that there were already 100 or 200 golden core cultivators here. Moreover, as time passed, the number of golden core cultivators was steadily increasing. At this moment, as the shopkeeper of the Myriad Treasure Pavilion, Ren Kongming came up to everyone with a smile. He cupped his fists and bowed. "Everyone, thank you for coming to the Myriad Treasure Meet. According to the rules, you can go on stage in turns to show the treasures you want to exchange. Now, as the host of this trade fair, let me do the opening and see if I have anything you need." After saying that, Ren Kongming raised his hand and waved. In the next moment, 4 items appeared in front of him. They were a high-grade level 4 defensive talisman, a medicinal pill that could increase the dharmic power of a golden core cultivator for 30 years, a fixed-type level 4 offensive divine power, and a high-grade level 4 offensive dharma treasure. Each of these 4 items could be said to be worth a lot. Looking at the 4 items, the eyes of the nearly 200 golden core cultivators lit up. In the end, the 4 items were exchanged by 4 late-stage golden core cultivators. That signaled the beginning of this golden core trade fair. Immediately, golden cores of various families and sects stepped forward one after another and took out their treasures to exchange with the others. During this period, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, Guan Xinting, and Yun Xingkang had all taken a fancy to something they liked. However, other than Guan Xinting, who was lucky enough to successfully exchange items with one of the golden cores, Jiang Chengxuan and the others did not manage to reach a deal as they wished. The main reason was that the things they took out were not as good as what others took out. At this moment, another mid-stage golden core cultivator went on stage. He took out 2 items from his body. One was a level 4 ore called the Red Wind Stellar Sand. The other was the level 4 spiritual flower, the spirit cleansing flower that Jiang Chengxuan eagerly wanted. The couple was delighted to see the spirit cleansing flower. The mid-stage golden core cultivator said, "I want to use these 2 items to exchange for a level 4 demon core or a level 4 life-extending spiritual item." As soon as he finished speaking, many people in the venue frowned, including the couple. 6. Clearly, be it the level 4 demon core or the level 4 life-extending spiritual item, their value was higher than the 2 items he had taken out. Just as everyone thought that the mid-stage golden core cultivator would leave the stage in disappointment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other. Then Jiang Chengxuan stood up and said, "I happen to have a level 4 demon core on me." However, before the mid-stage golden core cultivator could show a look of joy, Jiang Chengxuan continued, "But I think you should know that the value of the 2 things you took out is not on par with a level 4 demon core. If you really want the demon core, you need to add something else." Upon hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, the mid-stage golden core cultivator thought for a moment and took out another item from his body. It was a slightly broken level 4 turtle shell that could be used as refining material. Of course, if this level 4 turtle shell was intact, its value was almost second only to level 4 demon core. Without hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan went forward and used a level 4 demon core to exchange for the 3 items. It was hard to say who made a gain and who suffered a loss in this exchange. At the very least, they were happy with the result. With the spirit cleansing flower, the couple could start using the 3 essence spiritual fruit to refine the 3 essence spiritual pill later. As for the Red Wind Stellar Sand, they could try to fuse it into the blood eagle wings to see if they could bring its speed to another level. As for the broken turtle shell, its use was versatile. It could be used to repair and strengthen the defense of the Black Spirit Shield that had suffered some damages in the battle with Tree Demon Kings a while back. Just like that, the trade fair continued. About a few days later, both Guan Xinting and Yun Xingkang exchanged for the treasures they wanted. During this period, even Shen Ruyan exchanged for a level 4 Thunder Astral Stone. Later, with some other level 4 materials, she could upgrade her Falling Thunder Heavenly Seal to level 4. The entire trade fair was slowly coming to an end. At this moment, a few more people walked in. They were told that there was a trade fair specially held for golden cores and rushed over. Among them, there was Shangyu and Yangsheng, who had a grudge against Jiang Chengxuan. When their gazes met in the air, they both frowned deeply. However, no one said anything. Soon, Shangyu and Yangsheng and the other few golden core cultivators showed their treasures. One of them took out a bottle of high-grade level 4 flood dragon blood essence, making many people present palpitate. As everyone knew, the blood essence of demon beasts had many uses. Especially the high-grade level 4 flood dragon blood essence, its use was even more versatile. Not only could it be used to make top-notch talisman cinnabar, but it could also be used to refine pills. It was also an excellent material for body tempering. The life essence contained in it was enough to make a body-tempering cultivator take a huge step forward. If Jiang Chengxuan could obtain this bottle of level 4 flood dragon blood essence and then combine it with the 3 essence spiritual, he was 100% confident that he could bring his body-tempering cultivation to that of level 4 equivalents. At that time, his overall strength would drastically improve. If combined with his physical divine power, dragon elephant divine power, he believed he could fight a late-stage golden core cultivator to a draw. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan swore to himself that he had to try his best to get that bottle of high-grade level 4 flood dragon blood essence. The blood essence of ordinary level 4 demon beasts was easy to obtain, but the blood essence of a high-grade level 4 flood dragon that could be used for body tempering was rare. At that thought, Jiang Chengxuan immediately sent a voice transmission to Shen Ruyan. He planned to use a core formation pill to exchange for the high-grade level 4 flood dragon blood essence. Actually, among the resources they had, they could perfectly use a 3-essence spiritual fruit to exchange for that bottle of high-grade level 4 flood dragon blood essence. However, this kind of spiritual fruit that could increase dharmic power, physical body, and primordial spirit at the same time was undoubtedly more valuable than a core formation pill. Although every cultivator could only consume 1 3-essence spiritual fruit in their lifetime, even in the form of pills, because this spiritual fruit was too rare, the couple decided to keep it for the time being to see if they could use it to exchange for something more valuable in the future. At this moment, the competition for the high-grade level 4 flood dragon blood essence was already very intense. A rather arrogant-looking young man suddenly took out a high-grade level 4 spiritual herb from his body and said, "Fellow Taoist, I'm Xiao Liang from the Mingjin sect. This high-grade level 4 flood dragon blood essence is very useful to me. If you can do the favor of exchanging it with me, I will be very grateful and will not forget to return the favor in the future." Hearing Xiao Liang's words, the cultivator in possession of the flood dragon blood essence immediately had ugly expressions. The implication of the other party mentioning the Mingjin sect was obvious. Jiang Chengxuan was also hesitating. He knew very well that as one of the 3 nascent soul forces in the state of Yu, the Mingjin sect was not to be trifled with. However, what cultivators fought and sought after was opportunity. If he missed this flood dragon blood essence today, he would probably have to wait God knows how long before he could come across another flood dragon blood essence. As the saying went, a step slower will lead to 10 steps slower. Thinking of this, Jiang Chengxuan immediately said to the cultivator on the stage, "Fellow Taoist, you just said that you want to use the flood dragon blood essence to exchange for a high-grade core formation spiritual item or a treasure that can greatly increase the strength of your primordial spirit. Then I wonder if the core formation pill in my hand is to your liking." Hearing that, the cultivator on the stage was overjoyed. On the other side, Xiao Liang's expression darkened. He suddenly looked at Jiang Chengxuan and said in a low voice, "Fellow Taoist, I've already said that the flood dragon blood essence is very useful to me. I hope you can do me the favor of letting me have it." Hearing this, the cultivator on the stage immediately looked at Jiang Chengxuan with nervousness written all across his face, afraid that he would agree to Xiao Liang's request. "I'm sorry, fellow Taoist Xiao. That bottle of flood dragon blood essence is also very useful to me." Jiang Chengxuan turned to look at Xiao Liang and said calmly, "So my apologies." He knew very well that he had already offended the golden core of Mingjin sect the moment he spoke. In front of an opportunity that concerned his Tao path, he would be a fool to reject it. What could be more reliable than his own strength? Great. Seeing that Jiang Chengxuan did not give him face at all, a gloomy darkness emerged from the depths of his eyes. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan couldn't be bothered with how offended the other party was. Soon, he used a core formation pill to successfully complete the deal with the cultivator on the stage. With that, the trade fair was almost over. Then some cultivators who were familiar with each other began to communicate. Yun Xingkang and his wife, who had just got to know Jiang Chengxuan and his wife, started to show an unfriendly attitude. This made Guan Xinting, who introduced the two parties to each other previously, feel a little awkward. She came to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and explained, "Fellow Taoist Jiang, fellow Taoist Shen, I'm really sorry. As you know, fellow Taoist Yun and Wanju are from a sect in the state of Yu after all. It's not good for them to offend a cultivator of the Mingjin sect." Her action left a good impression on Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. No matter what, under such circumstances, Guan Xinting was still willing to approach them and explain it to them. It could be seen that this woman was indeed worth befriending. Jiang Chengxuan smiled and nodded. "Fellow Taoist Guan, don't worry, we understand it." On the other hand, fellow Taoist Guan, aren't you afraid that fellow Taoist Xiao will hold prejudice against you for being with us? As he spoke, Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but glance in Xiao Liang's direction. He happened to see Yun Xingkang and Qiu Wanju walking towards Xiao Liang and saying something to him. This question put some worry on Guan Xinting's pretty face. She said, "It's fine. No matter how powerful the Mingjin sect is, they can't touch me. Moreover, Xiao Liang is only a golden core elder of the Mingjin sect. What's there to be afraid of?" From her tone, Guan Xinting did not seem to be very afraid of the Mingjin sect behind Xiao Liang. This was interesting. Could it be that she also had a strong background behind her? A few days later, the second section of the Myriad Treasure Meet, the Myriad Treasure Auction, was finally held in the auction house. As golden core cultivators, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were qualified to stay in the private room in the auction house. They only needed to pay 1,000 spiritual stones. When the couple entered their private room, they realized that the number plate for their private room was 264. Did this mean that there were already 263 golden cores who had arrived before them? This was quite possible. Moreover, the 264th room they were in was not the last room in this auction house. There were many empty private rooms to be occupied. Just like that, the couple stayed in their private room for about half a day before the Myriad Treasure Auction officially began. The first person to appear was a late-stage golden core cultivator. This person had white hair, and although he looked old, the aura he emitted was so vast that no one dared to take him lightly. He smiled and cupped his fists at everyone before saying, "I'm Cao Jingfeng of the Cao family, the host of this auction. First of all, on behalf of the Myriad Treasure Immortal City, I welcome all those who came to participate. Then let me explain the rules of this auction. Of course, the first and foremost rule is that the item will be sold to the highest bidder. During this period, if anyone disturbs the auction or threatens the bidder, we will not show any mercy, no matter who you are. I hope that everyone who comes here can remember the rules well and not cross the line." At this point, Cao Jingfeng paused for a moment before continuing. "All right, let's cut to the chase. I now announce the official start of the Myriad Treasure Auction. The first item is a treasure that all cultivators who aspire to reach the Golden Core realm dreams of. Core Condensing Pill. Although the effect of this pill is not as good as the Core Formation Pill, it's still a rare spiritual item. Fellow Taoists who need it, don't miss it. The starting price is 500,000 spiritual stones. Every increase must be at least 50,000 spiritual stones." Good God! The opening item was actually a core condensing pill. As expected of the largest auction in the state of Yu. Just as this thought flashed through Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's minds, the atmosphere in the venue gradually became heated. Waves of bids rose and fell. 800,000 spiritual stones, 1,300,000 spiritual stones. In a short moment, the price of the core condensing pill was raised to 1.3 million spiritual stones. This price had already exceeded many level 4 treasures. Even so, the bidding for the core condensing pills did not stop. 1.4 million, 1.5 million, 1.65 million. In the end, the price stopped at 1.65 million. It had to be said that 1.65 million for a core condensing pill was actually slightly higher than the market price. However, the problem was that pills like the core condensing pill that could help Violet Palace cultivators break through to the golden core couldn't be purchased with spiritual stones, unless you used high-grade spiritual stones. However, not many golden core cultivators were in possession of high-grade spiritual stones. Even if they had some, it would at most be a few pieces or so. It would not exceed 100 pieces, which was far from enough to buy core condensing pills. After the core condensing pill, the auction continued to offer many good things. However, those things were all below level 4. To Xianxia and the other golden core cultivators, other than some special level 3 treasures, nothing below level 4 could catch their attention. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. During this period, although several level 4 treasures were auctioned, they were useless to Xianxia and Shen Ruyan, so they didn't bid for them. Just at this moment, what appeared in Cao Jingfeng's hand attracted Xianxia and Shen Ruyan's attention. To be precise, it attracted the attention of many golden core cultivators present. It was a teleportation array. Although it was only a short to medium-distance teleportation array, it had a special significance to golden core sects or families who did not have a teleportation array at the moment. One had to know that it was not that easy for cultivators to refine teleportation arrays. First, a considerable number of clear stones and spatial stones were needed. The former was the foundation of the teleportation array. Whether it was activating the teleportation array or maintaining the operation of the teleportation array, this material was indispensable. The latter had the effect of stabilizing space to ensure your safety during teleporting. Otherwise, if the space was unstable, accidents would occur, the danger of which could even threaten the life of nascent soul-perfected lords. As for these two materials, they were not circulating on a large scale in the market at the moment. They were firmly controlled by the World Edge Pavilion, which made a name for themselves from crafting teleportation arrays. This sect was located in the state of Tianya in the northern border. It was a top-notch nascent soul sect and was the absolute overlord of the entire state of Tianya. Wife, our family needs such a teleportation array. If possible, it's best if we can obtain it. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan said to Shen Ruyan. So far, the Jiang family did not have a teleportation array. Most importantly, as the Jiang family's strength increased, the industries under them also increased and expanded. Sometimes, it was really inconvenient to travel back and forth between the family and the industries. If the industries were connected to the family by a teleportation array, it would undoubtedly save them a great amount of time. Unfortunately, strategic resources like teleportation arrays were rarely seen in the market. Even if it appeared occasionally, it would be quickly sold out. Shen Ruyan nodded at Jiang Chengxuan. Just as the couple was discussing, many people had already begun to fight for the teleportation array. 1.4 million, 1.8 million, 2.2 million. In just a moment, the price of the teleportation array was raised to 2.2 million. Moreover, it showed no signs of stopping. 2.3 million, 2.6 million, 3 million. Seeing that the price of the teleportation array had reached 3 million spiritual stones in the blink of an eye, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan clicked their tongues. Especially Shen Ruyan. Now that her memories of her previous life had recovered a lot, she also knew one thing or two about the refinement of teleportation arrays. The price of clear stones and spatial stones needed to refine a teleportation array wouldn't exceed a few 100,000 spiritual stones. And now, the price had multiplied, and it was still rising. However, even so, Jiang Chengxuan had to bite the bullet and bid for it. Jiang Chengxuan shouted, 4 million spiritual stones. As soon as this price was raised, those who originally wanted to continue bidding fell silent. Obviously, no one expected that the price of the teleportation array would skyrocket. Jiang Chengxuan's move shocked many people and caused most of them to withdraw from bidding. Only a few were still bidding against Jiang Chengxuan. However, those people were very careful when raising the price and wouldn't raise more than 100,000 spiritual stones at a time. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan thought for a moment and immediately said, 4.5 million spiritual stones. With that, the others completely gave up. Cao Jingfeng, who was in charge of presiding over the auction, looked at everyone and asked 3 times if there was a higher bidder. In the end, he slapped the auction hammer in his hand and shouted, 4.5 million going once, 4.5 million going twice, 4.5 million going thrice. Congratulations to the esteemed guest in room 264 for obtaining this teleportation array. As soon as he finished speaking, a teleportation array was sent to Jiang Chengxuan's private room. After completing the transaction, the auction for the next item began. It was an exquisitely crafted pink bracelet, called Alluring Heaven Bracelet, very suitable for female cultivators. Unfortunately, it was only mid-grade level 3, useless to the current Shen Ruyan. For the next few items that were presented, the couple had no intention of getting it. A few days later, Cao Jingfeng suddenly took out 7 flying daggers that flickered with lightning. He smiled and said to everyone, "Everyone, these 7 flying daggers are called the Thunder Demon Slayer. Not only is it a set of Dharma treasures, but it also has a very pure lightning attribute. Most importantly, it has a natural restraining effect on all kinds of evil creatures and even demonic cultivators. At the same time, it has reached mid-grade level 4. It's especially suitable for people who cultivate lightning element cultivation techniques and had lightning spiritual root. The starting price of this treasure is 400,000 spiritual stones. Every increase must be no less than 10,000 spiritual stones." Shen Ruyan's eyes lit up when she saw the 7 daggers that Cao Jingfeng took out. There was no doubt that the Thunder Demon Slayer was very suitable for Shen Ruyan. Without another word, Jiang Chengxuan immediately made a bid. 600,000 spiritual stones. 650,000 spiritual stones. Soon, someone in the private room on the other side spoke. 700,000. 730,000. 860,000. 1,000,000. In the end, Jiang Chengxuan bought the Thunder Demon Slayer for Shen Ruyan for 1,000,000 spiritual stones. After that, the entire auction was almost coming to an end. About half a day later, the final item of the auction was finally presented. It was a level 5 true spirit origin Jade that could help a 9th level golden core cultivator increase the success rate of condensing a nascent soul by 5%. It could help a 9th level golden core cultivator increase the success rate of condensing a nascent soul by 5%. Although it was only 5%, when the true spirit origin Jade was taken out, it still caused a commotion among all the cultivators present. Condensing a nascent soul was the lifelong pursuit of many golden core cultivators. It was not an exaggeration to say that this true spirit origin Jade was enough to start a war between hundreds and thousands of golden core cultivators. Especially those 9th level golden core cultivators who were struggling to obtain the opportunity to condense their nascent soul. How could they miss out on it? In just an instant, the price of the true spirit origin Jade was raised to 8,000,000 spiritual stones. And it was rising rapidly. 9,000,000, 10,000,000, 11,000,000. When the price of the true spirit origin Jade was raised to 11,000,000, everyone gasped. No matter who won the true spirit origin Jade in the end, they would definitely become the most eye-catching presence during the entire auction. In fact, whether the other party could safely bring the true spirit origin Jade back home was a question. However, at this moment, those who were bidding for the true spirit origin Jade had clearly put their safety on the back of their mind. This item concerned their Tao path. Even if they knew that there was a mountain of blades and a sea of flames in front of them, they would rush in without hesitation. In the end, the price of the true spirit origin Jade was fixed at 16,000,000 spiritual stones, becoming the most expensive item in the entire auction. At this moment, the highest bidder clearly knew his situation. So, the moment he received the true spirit origin Jade, he disappeared from the auction venue without a trace. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan also noticed that right after the highest bidder was gone, almost half of the people in the auction venue disappeared. It was obvious what they were up to. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan naturally wouldn't join in the fun. In fact, they were already very against such behavior. In the Jiang family, Jiang Chengxuan had set up a rule that if anyone dared to kill and snatch treasures from others in the jurisdiction area of the Jiang family, no matter who it was, they would be punished. Without lingering around, as soon as the auction ended, the couple left the venue. Before the couple could walk far, they were stopped by Guan Xinting. "Fellow Taoist Jiang and Shen, please wait." "Yes." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were confused when they saw Guan Xinting. Jiang Chengxuan asked, "Fellow Taoist Guan, what's the matter?" Guan Xinting smiled and nodded. "I heard from the two of you before that you want to buy the level 4 universe true Jade, right?" "Oh, do you know where to buy it?" Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's hearts skipped a beat. The universe true jade was an indispensable material for upgrading Jiang Chengxuan's third intrinsic dharma treasure, the yin-yang divine water jade. Originally, they thought that this level 4 spiritual item would appear at this auction. However, they were disappointed. Now that he suddenly heard Guan Xinting mention it, Jiang Chengxuan felt a trace of hope again. However, Guan Xinting shook her head. This made Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan look confused. Shen Ruyan said, "Fellow Taoist Guan, then why are you asking this?" Guan Xinting smiled and said, "Although I don't know where to buy the universe true jade, I know where to find it." Really? Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were overjoyed. After spending some time together, the couple had a good understanding of Guan Xinting's character. They knew that this woman was definitely not the kind of person who talked through her hat. Since she said that she knew where to find the universe true jade, it must be true. Thinking of this, Jiang Chengxuan was about to ask about the details. However, realizing that they were standing in the open, he immediately suggested, "Fellow Taoist Guan, since we're free now, why don't we go to the treasure restaurant to talk?" Hearing this, Guan Xinting did not refuse. Instead, she smiled and nodded. "All right." Soon, the three of them arrived at the largest restaurant in the myriad treasure immortal city. Treasure restaurant. After the waiter brought over snacks and spiritual tea, Jiang Chengxuan smiled at Guan Xinting and asked, "Fellow Taoist Guan, can you tell us in detail about the universe true jade?" "Of course." Guan Xinting smiled and nodded. "To be honest, the reason why I stopped the two of you is actually to invite you to explore an ancient ruins with me." Ancient ruins? Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's eyes widened in surprise. "That's right." Guan Xinting nodded slightly. "I can tell you with certainty that there's a universe true jade in that ancient ruins." "I see." Now, both Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan understood why Guan Xinting stopped them. "Can you tell us more about the ancient ruins you mentioned?" At that moment, Shen Ruyan suddenly looked at Guan Xinting and said, "If I'm not wrong, you should have entered that ruins already, right?" Guan Xinting did not deny it. Instead, she nodded and said, "That's right, I have indeed entered that ruins. Initially, I wanted to invite Yun Xingkong and his wife, but now I think it's better to invite the two of you." Guan Xinting paused for a moment before continuing. "As for the situation of the ruins, I can only tell you that it's a cave abode of an ancient perfected lord. There are many inheritances left behind from the ancient times and some treasures that have yet to decay. As for the more specific details, I'm sorry, but before you agree to join me, I can't say anything else. I hope you can understand." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded. The couple discussed with each other via voice transmission. After a while, Jiang Chengxuan said, "Fellow Taoist Guan, we need to know if anyone else besides you knows about the existence of that ancient ruins." Guan Xinting didn't avoid Jiang Chengxuan's question and answered truthfully, "Other than me, there are two groups of people who know of the existence of that ruins. Furthermore, just like me, they have also entered the ruins." "Is that so?" Hearing her answer, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan couldn't help but look solemn. Without a doubt, the more people who knew about the ruins, the more unpredictable variables there would be. "How many people are there? How strong are they?" Shen Ruyan could not help but ask. Guan Xinting said, "Initially, they were all alone like me. However, when the ruins open this time, they will definitely bring more people along. As for their strength, they are all about the same as me, mid-stage golden core." "How many people do you think they'll probably invite? Will it be a lot?" Shen Ruyan asked. Guan Xinting shook her head. "I don't think there will be many. After all, things that can be scavenged from that ruins are limited. If they invited too many people, it would greatly reduce their gains. This is not in line with their interests. I think there will be 2 or 3 people in each group at most." Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were slightly relieved and decided to go to the ancient ruins with Guan Xinting. If they missed this opportunity, who knew how long it would take before they came across a universe true jade again? At the thought of this, Jiang Chengxuan immediately said to Guan Xinting, "Fellow Taoist Guan, my wife and I agree to explore the ruins with you. I wonder when the ruins will open. Also, when the time comes, how should we distribute the gains?" Seeing that Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had agreed to her invitation, Guan Xinting was overjoyed. She thought for a moment and said, "It's been about 10 years since I last entered that ruins. There should be 2 more years before it opens again. 2 years. Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other. In this case, they would probably have to stay in the myriad treasure immortal city for 2 years. However, this was also a good thing. Within 2 years, they could refine the 3-essence spiritual pill and try to break through. If they could break through to the mid-stage golden core realm before entering the ruins, or if Jiang Chengxuan could bring his body tempering technique to level 4, the trip to the ancient ruins would be much safer. As for the distribution of the gains, according to Guan Xinting, it was 50-50. She would get 50% of it, while Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan would get the remaining 50%. If they found the universe true Jade, Guan Xinting was willing to let Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan have it. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan didn't think there were any problems, although they thought that in 2 years, their strength would definitely surpass the current Guan Xinting. However, this ruins was discovered by Guan Xinting, and she was the one who invited them to join. It was reasonable for her to get 50%. Guan Xinting suddenly took out a blood oath contract and handed it to the two of them with a smile. Fellow Taoists, after interacting with each other over the past few days, I've come to the conclusion that you are trustworthy people. However, this trip to the ancient ruins is very important. Therefore, I still hope that you can sign this blood oath contract with me. Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were not too surprised. Just as Guan Xinting had said, the trip to the ruins was very important. It was very necessary for Guan Xinting and the couple to be bound by something. The couple took the blood oath contract from Guan Xinting and carefully read the contents. In general, it stipulated that in the subsequent expedition to the ruins, both sides must not attack each other. They had to work together and help each other. In addition, before they entered the ruins, they were not allowed to tell anyone else about the ruins. There was nothing wrong with most of the content. Only a few details needed to be modified and confirmed. In the end, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan and Guan Xinting signed their names on the blood oath contract. Tempering technique breakthrough. After returning to their cave abode in the myriad treasure immortal city, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan rented their cave abode for another 2 years. After settling some trivial matters, the couple began to try to refine the 3-essence spiritual pill. Although the 3-essence spiritual pill was a mid-grade level 4 medicinal pill, it still had a certain effect on late-stage golden core cultivators. Therefore, its value was not inferior to some high-grade level 4 medicinal pills. Similarly, the difficulty of refining the 3-essence spiritual pill was also several times higher than refining other mid-grade level 4 pills. Fortunately, with Shen Ruyan's alchemy skills, it was not a problem. Coupled with the help of a top-level 3 alchemist like Jiang Chengxuan, there was nothing to worry about. As Jiang Chengxuan took out his furnace, Shen Ruyan started the process of nourishing the furnace and refining the herbs. Just this step would take her about 4 months if she did it alone. With Jiang Chengxuan's help, the time needed to refine the herbs could be shortened to about 2.5 months. When Shen Ruyan finished refining all the herbs, it was time to fuse the medicinal liquid. If this step was not done well, the entire refinement process would fail. Fortunately, Shen Ruyan handled it meticulously and flawlessly. By the time she completed this step, about 1.5 months had passed. Next, it was time to condense the pill, form the pill, and nourish it. At this point, Shen Ruyan became extra serious. She did not dare to be careless at all. Jiang Chengxuan also helped to control the temperature of the flames, looking extremely focused. Just like that, about 20 days passed. Finally, the medicinal liquid in the pill furnace had already been divided into 4. Moreover, as time passed, the 4 balls of medicinal liquid gradually began to take shape, turning into that of a pill and gradually emitting a rich fragrance. However, at that moment, Shen Ruyan frowned. Then, one of the medicinal liquids that had already turned into pills suddenly sizzled. Its surface was instantly covered in a layer of gray and black. Seeing this, Shen Ruyan decisively abandoned the medicinal liquid. Then, she focused all her attention on the remaining 3 pills. Time passed bit by bit. This time it was smooth sailing. Another month passed. 3 red, yellow, and blue pills appeared in Shen Ruyan and Jiang Chengxuan's divine senses. With a soft clang, the lid of the furnace opened. Shen Ruyan took out the 3-essence spiritual pills and put them into a jade bottle that she had prepared beforehand. At that moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan couldn't help but look at each other with a smile. Without further delay, the couple each took a spiritual pill and entered their respective cultivation rooms to attempt a breakthrough. On this side, Jiang Chengxuan had just swallowed the 3-essence spiritual pill when he felt a surging but extremely gentle dharmic power suddenly flowing in his body. He tried to circulate the 5 elements true technique for a few cycles. Without encountering any resistance or bottleneck, Jiang Chengxuan successfully broke through to the 4th level of the golden core realm. It was also the mid-stage. The total dharmic power in his body had doubled compared to before. This made him sigh. After reaching the golden core realm, the difference between each small realm was getting greater and greater. For him, between the mid-stage and early-stage golden core, in terms of the total amount of dharmic power, the former was twice or more than the latter. After all, he was only currently at the 4th level, and there was plenty of room for improvement. If he reached the peak of the 6th level, it could be imagined that the total dharmic power in his body was definitely not just 1 or 2 times as compared to when he was at the early stage of the golden core. At the same time, when Jiang Chengxuan broke through, his physical body and primordial spirit had also seen great improvement. The 3-essence spiritual pill could indeed help cultivators increase their dharmic power, physical body, and primordial spirit at the same time. This effect was much better than simply consuming the 3-essence spiritual fruit. At the very least, Jiang Chengxuan could clearly feel that the strength of his primordial spirit had already jumped from the mid-stage golden core to the late-stage golden core. Even the range of his divine sense had more than doubled. As for the physical body, needless to say, it was already on the verge of breaking through at any time. However, in order to strengthen his foundation and increase the foundation of his physical body after breaking through, Jiang Chengxuan decisively took out the bottle of high-grade level 4, Flood Dragon Blood Essence from his body. This kind of Flood Dragon Blood Essence naturally could not be used directly like those natural body-tempering spiritual items. Instead, it had to be mixed with the corresponding body-tempering spiritual herbs before it could be used. Tempering Technique Breakthrough 2. Jiang Chengxuan brought over a large bucket from the side and placed the body-tempering spiritual herbs that he had prepared beforehand into it. After the spiritual herbs in the bucket turned into medicinal liquid, Jiang Chengxuan poured the bottle of Flood Dragon Blood Essence into the bucket. Gulp, gulp. Soon, the liquid in the bucket began to bubble. The color also gradually changed from the original dark green to red. About half an hour later, the color of the liquid in the bucket had completely turned bright red, and a huge heat wave rose. Jiang Chengxuan stood at the side and could clearly feel that the heat wave rising from the bucket was no less than the temperature of ordinary flames. One could imagine how high the temperature of the liquid in the bucket was. Without hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan immediately jumped into the bucket. Sizzle! The moment he was inside the bucket, red smoke rose from the surface of his body. It felt as if he was in a sea of fire. Even with his current physical strength, he still felt an extremely obvious pain. Moreover, as he activated the infinite wheel, the pain was increasing rapidly. No wonder there were not many cultivators who walked the path of body tempering in the current 9 essences cultivation world. Putting aside the fact that there was a lack of brilliant body tempering techniques, just the pain and suffering one had to go through was not something ordinary cultivators could endure. Whoosh! As he absorbed the blood essence and medicinal liquid, a tsunami-like roar sounded from Jiang Chengxuan's body. Large veins protruded from his body, and one could clearly see the blood flowing beneath it. Jiang Chengxuan gritted his teeth and endured the pain that felt like thousands of blades were cutting his flesh. Large drops of sweat rolled down his forehead and quickly evaporated. After an unknown period of time, Jiang Chengxuan was already wrapped in a huge, blood-colored cocoon. Terrifying roars that sounded like wild beasts came from inside. This continued for several months. On this day, a clear crack suddenly appeared on the huge blood-colored cocoon. Then more and more cracks appeared, emitting a series of crisp sounds. Finally, with a pop, the entire cocoon exploded into blood-colored light spots that eventually dissipated. What appeared next was a perfect body. He had bronze skin, chiseled facial features, and a strong and masculine figure. It was Jiang Chengxuan. At this moment, his body tempering technique had really entered level 4. On top of that, with the help of the flood dragon blood essence, he successfully brought his body tempering technique to the peak of early stage level 4. At this moment, he was confident that he could kill a mid-stage golden core cultivator with his body tempering technique alone. With his dharmic power and trump cards, even ordinary late-stage golden core cultivators might die in his hands. At that moment, out of curiosity, he took out a level 3 flying sword and slashed at his arm. There was a clang. When the level 3 flying sword landed on him, it did not cause any damage to his body. Not even a white mark was left behind. From then on, Jiang Chengxuan had a rough idea of his situation. Currently, the strength of his body was no longer susceptible to ordinary level 3 Dharma treasures. Although a low-grade level 4 Dharma treasure would pose a threat, under normal circumstances, it was also impossible to severely injure him. Unless it was an intrinsic flying sword like his Golden Void sword that specialized in silent killing. Ding! As these thoughts flashed through his mind, a familiar voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Congratulations, host. You have reached level 4 body tempering. You have obtained the complete mortal chapter of the Infinite Wheel. At this moment, the subsequent cultivation content of the Infinite Wheel suddenly appeared in Jiang Chengxuan's mind. It covered the entire level 4, level 5, and even level 6. This was something Jiang Chengxuan hadn't expected to receive. Just now, he was thinking that his body tempering technique had broken through to level 4. The remaining content of the Infinite Wheel was no longer enough for him to continue cultivating. What should he do next? Unexpectedly, the system already had a huge surprise in store for him. At the very least, he no longer had to worry about not being able to cultivate the Infinite Wheel before the Void Returning Realm. After suppressing these thoughts for the time being, Jiang Chengxuan turned his attention to his 2 level 4 Dharma treasures, the Blood Eagle Wings and the Black Spiritual Shield. Previously at the trade fair, other than exchanging for the Spirit Cleansing Flower, he had also obtained 2 other things. One was the Red Wind Stellar Sand, and the other was the broken level 4 turtle shell. The former could be fused into the Blood Eagle Wings to increase its level. At the very least, it could increase its speed and agility. As for the latter, it could be used to repair his damaged Black Spiritual Shield. Although his weapon refinement level had yet to truly reach level 4, he wanted to use this opportunity to raise it to level 4. Without delay, Jiang Chengxuan immediately took out the damaged Black Spiritual Shield from his body. He planned to use the level 4 broken turtle shell to try to repair this level 4 defensive Dharma treasure first. After all, it was easier to repair the Black Spiritual Shield than to fuse the Red Wind Stellar Sand into the Blood Eagle Wings. A few months later, Jiang Chengxuan looked at the brand new Black Spiritual Shield and could not help but nod in satisfaction. With the successful example of repairing the Black Spiritual Shield, Jiang Chengxuan unknowingly became more confident in fusing the Red Wind Stellar Sand into the Blood Eagle Wings. After about 4 months of almost non-stop refinement, Jiang Chengxuan successfully fused the Red Wind Stellar Sand into the Blood Eagle Wings. At this moment, the level of the Blood Eagle Wings had increased from low-grade level 4 to mid-grade level 4. When used, not only was it faster and more agile, but it could also unleash level 4 wind element spells. At the same time, it could also draw in the power of the stars in the sky to boost its power by 30%. It was not an exaggeration to say that when he activated this Dharma treasure with all his might, even a 9th level golden core cultivator couldn't catch up to him unless he had a similar Dharma treasure. Ding! At this moment, a system notification sounded in Jiang Chengxuan's mind. Congratulations, host. You have successfully become a level 4 weapon refinement master and have obtained a Jade slip for refining mechanical beasts. Mechanical beasts. Jiang Chengxuan looked at the Jade slip that suddenly appeared in his hand and was slightly stunned. It was actually a Jade slip containing the refinement method for mechanical beasts. He knew that the inheritances of mechanical beasts and puppets were firmly in the hands of the high above sects and some nascent soul sects. Ordinary sects or families below the nascent soul rarely had such inheritances. At least as far as Jiang Chengxuan knew, there seemed to be no golden core family or sect in the entire state of Yu that had such an inheritance. If the Jiang family could master it, it would definitely bring unimaginable benefits to the Jiang family. With this in mind, Jiang Chengxuan immediately stuck the jade slip in his hand to his forehead.